The spirit of Brooklyn, we always say, is friendliness. And your sermons are not so much sermons as friendly talks.
Personally, I've always enjoyed my talks with Cardinal Gibbons. Or have I met him yet?
No, Teddy dear, not yet. Are the biscuits good?
Splendid, Aunt Abby.
Won't you have another biscuit, Dr. Harper?
Oh, no, I'm afraid I'll have no appetite for dinner now. I always eat too many of your biscuits just to taste your lovely jam.
Oh, well, we'll send you over a jar.
No, you keep it here so I can be sure of having your biscuits with it.
Very well. I understand Mortimer's taking Elaine with him to the theatre again tonight. We are so happy it's your daughter he takes with him, Dr. Harper.
It's a new experience for me to wait up until 3 o'clock in the morning for her to be brought home.
Oh, but I do hope you don't disapprove of Mortimer.
Well...
But we'd feel so guilty if you did, Sister Martha and I. I mean, since it was here that your daughter met our nephew.
I believe Mortimer to be quite a worthy gentleman, but I must admit that I've watched the growing intimacy between him and my daughter with some trepidation. For one reason, Miss Abby.
You mean his stomach, Dr. Harper?
Stomach?
Yes, his dyspepsia.
No, Miss Abby. I'll be frank with you. I'm speaking of your nephew's unfortunate connection with the theatre.
The theatre? Oh, no, Dr. Harper. Mortimer writes for a New York newspaper.
I know, Miss Abby, but a dramatic critic is constantly exposed to the theatre. And I don't doubt but some of them develop an interest in it.
No, not Mortimer. He hates the theatre.
Really?
Oh, yes. He writes awful things about it. But you can't blame him, poor boy. He was so happy writing about real estate, which he really knew something about. And then they just make him take this terrible night position.
My.
But as he says, the theatre can't last much longer anyway. And in the meantime, it's a living. Well, now, whoever do you suppose that is? Oh, come in, Mr. Brophy.
Hello, Miss Brewster.
How are you, Mr. Clyde?
Very well, Miss Brewster.
What news have you two police officers brought me?
Colonel, we have nothing to report.
Splendid. Thank you, gentlemen. At ease.
You know Dr. Harper?
Yes. Hello, Dr. Harper.
We've come for the toys for the Christmas fund, Miss Brewster.
Oh, yes.
That's splendid work you men do for the poor children.
Oh, it gives us something to do when we have to sit around the station. You get tired playing cards, and you start cleaning a gun. And the first thing you know, you've shot yourself in the foot.
Oh, dear. Teddy, just go upstairs, dear, and get that big box from your Aunt Martha's room, will you?
Yes, Aunt Abby.
Dear Teddy, always pretending he's in the army. And how is your wife, Mr. Brophy?
Oh, she's better now. A little weak still.
Well, I'm going to get you some beef broth to take to her.
Oh, now, don't bother, Miss Abby. You've done so much for her already.
We made it this morning. Yes, Sister Martha's taking some to poor Mr. Benitsky right now. I won't be a minute. Sit down and be comfortable, all of you.
Well, now, she shouldn't go to all that trouble.
Listen, you just tried to stop her or her sister from doing something nice, and for nothing.
Colonel, you promised not to do that.
But I had to call a cabinet meeting to get the release of those supplies.
He used to do that in the middle of the night. The neighbours raised Cain with us. They're a little bit afraid of him anyway.
Oh, he's quite harmless.
Oh, suppose he does think he's Teddy Roosevelt. There's a lot worse people he could think he was.
It's a shame. A nice family like this hatching a cuckoo like him.
Well, the old girl's father, Teddy's grandfather, he was a little crazy, wasn't he?
Yes, crazy like a fox. He made $1 million.
Really?
Yes, patent medicine. He used the house here as a sort of a clinic. Tried him out on people.
He used to make mistakes occasionally, too.
The department never bothered him much because he was pretty useful on autopsies, especially poison cases.
Well, whatever he did, he left his daughters fixed for life.
Not that they ever spend any of it on themselves.
Yes, I'm well acquainted with their charities.
Oh. You don't know a tenth of it. When I was with the Missing Persons Bureau, I was trying to trace an old man that we never did find. Do you know there's a renting agency that's got this house down on its list for furnished rooms? They don't rent rooms, but anybody who comes here looking for a room goes away with a good meal and a few dollars in their pocket.
Well, now, isn't this nice?
Good afternoon, Miss Brewster.
How do you do, Mr. Brovey? Dr. Harper and Mr. Klein.
How are you, Miss Brewster?
We dropped in to get the Christmas toys.
Oh, yes, of course. I hope Mrs. Brovey's better.
Oh, she's doing fine, ma'am. Your sister's getting some soup for me to take to her.
Oh, yes, we made it this morning. I just took some to a poor man who broke ever so many bones.
Oh, so you're back, Martha. And how was Mr. Benedictine?
Oh, well, dear, it's pretty serious, I'm afraid. The doctor was there. He's going to amputate in the morning.
Oh, can we be present?
No, I asked him, but he says it's against the rules.
Well, here is the broth, Mr. Brovey. And be sure it's good and hot.
Oh, yes, ma'am.
Ah, and here's Teddy with the toys.
There they are.
Thank you, dear Teddy.
All checked and correct.
There you are, Mr. Clive.
Oh, thank you very much, ma'am. Well, we'll run along now.
Goodbye, Mr. Clive.
Goodbye, Mr. Brovey.
Goodbye, ma'am.
And thank you.
I must be getting home too.
Oh, well, before you go, Dr. Harper...
Charge! Charge the blockhouse!
Have you ever tried to persuade him that he wasn't Teddy Roosevelt?
Oh, no.
Nobody's so happy being Teddy Roosevelt.
Once, a long time ago, do you remember, Martha? We thought if he would be George Washington, it might be a change for him.
But he stayed under his bed for days and just wouldn't be anybody.
And we'd so much rather he'd be Mr. Roosevelt than nobody.
Well, if he's happy. You'll see that he signs these papers.
What are they?
Well, Dr. Harper has made arrangements for Teddy to go to Happy Dale Sanatorium after we pass on.
But why should Teddy sign any papers now?
Oh, it's better to have it all settled. Mr. Witherspoon understands they're to be filed away until the time comes to use them.
Mr. Witherspoon? Who's he?
He's the superintendent of Happy Dale.
And Dr. Harper has arranged for him to drop in tomorrow or the next day to meet Teddy.
I'd better be running along, or Elaine will be over here looking for me.
Well, give our love to Elaine. Oh, and Dr. Harper, please don't think harshly of Mortimer because he's a dramatic critic. Somebody has to do these things.
Well, good day.
Have you only just had tea? Isn't it rather late?
Yes, and dinner's going to be late too.
Why?
Teddy! Teddy!
Yes, Aunt Abby.
Good news for you, dear. You're going to Panama to dig another lock for the canal.
Delighted. I shall prepare for the journey at once.
Abby, while I was out.
Yes, dear. I just couldn't wait for you. I didn't know when you'd be back, and Dr. Harper was coming.
But all by yourself.
Oh, but I got along splendidly.
I'll just run downstairs and see it.
Oh, no. There wasn't time for that, dear, for I was all alone.
Well, where is it then?
Martha, just look in the window seat.
Abby, dear, what a lovely body. And all by yourself, too. Who can that be? Oh, it's Elaine. Come in, dear.
Good afternoon, Miss Martha. Oh, I thought Father was here.
Oh, well, he's just this minute left. Didn't you meet him?
No, I took the shortcut through the cemetery. Hasn't Mortimer come yet?
No, dear.
Oh, he asked me to meet him here. Do you mind if I wait?
No, not at all. He should be here any minute now.
Oh, my goodness, Elaine, what must you think of us not having tea cleared away by this time? I just put the tray in the kitchen.
Don't bother with anything in the kitchen, Abby, until Mortimer comes, and then I'll help you. Oh, there he is now.
Hello, Aunt Martha.
Abby, Mortimer's here.
Hello, Elaine.
Hello, Mort.
Hello, Mortimer.
Hello, Aunt Abby.
How are you, dear?
All right. And you look well. You haven't changed much since yesterday.
Oh, my goodness, it was yesterday, wasn't it? Well, we are seeing a great deal of you lately. Well, sit down, sit down.
Abby, haven't we something to do in the kitchen, Abby?
Huh?
You know, the tea things.
Oh, yes, of course, the tea things. Well, now you two just make yourselves at home. Just
Make yourselves at home.
Now, where do you want to go for dinner, Elaine?
I don't care. I'm not very hungry.
Well, I just had breakfast. Suppose we wait till after the show,
Well, that'll make it pretty late, won't it?
Not with the little stinker we're seeing tonight, but what I've heard about it, we'll be at Blake's by 10 o'clock.
You ought to be fair to these plays.
Are these plays fair to me?
You know, I've never seen you walk out on a musical. Somehow they have a humanizing effect on you. It wasn't until after our first musical you told me I had nice legs. And I have, too.
For a minister's daughter, you know a lot about life. Where do you learn it?
In the choir loft.
I'll explain that to you sometime, darling.
What?
The close connection between eroticism and religion.
Religion never gets as high as the choir loft.
You know, I've never been able to rationalize it.
What?
My falling in love with a girl who lives in Brooklyn.
Falling in love? You're not stooping to the articulate, are you?
The only way I can regain my self-respect is to keep you in New York.
Did you say keep?
No. I've come to the conclusion that you're holding out for the legalities. Now, where could we be married in a hurry? Let me say tonight.
I'm afraid Father will insist on officiating.
Your father could make even the marriage service sound pedestrian. All right, formal, everything formal and legal. But not later than next month.
Darling.
Hello, Mortimer.
How are you, Mr. President?
Fine, thank you, just fine. What news have you brought for me?
Just this, Mr. President. The country is squarely behind you.
Yes, I know. Isn't it wonderful? Well, goodbye.
Where are you off to, Teddy?
Panama.
Panama?
Panama's the cellar.
Oh.
He digs locks for the canal down there.
You're very sweet with him, and he's so fond of you.
Well, Teddy was always my favourite brother.
Favourite? Were there more of you?
Well, there's another brother, Jonathan.
I never heard of him.
Well, we don't like to talk about Jonathan. He left Brooklyn very early, by request. He was the kind of boy who liked to cut worms in two with his teeth.
What became of him?
Oh, I don't know. He wanted to become a surgeon like grandfather, but he wouldn't go to medical school first, and his practice got him into trouble.
Aren't you two going to be late for the theatre?
Oh, we're skipping dinner. We don't have to start for half an hour.
Oh, well then, I'll leave you alone together again.
Don't bother, darling. I'm going to run over to speak to Father. Before I go out with you, Mort, he likes to pray over me a little.
Oh, by the way, Aunt Abby, I'm going to marry her.
What? Oh, darling! Martha, come here. I've got the most wonderful news. Mortimer and Elaine are going to be married.
Married? Oh, Mortimer.
Oh, we hoped it would happen like this.
Oh, Elaine must be the happiest girl in the world.
Happy? Just look at her leaping over those gravestones. Oh, by the way, I left a large envelope around here last week. It was one of the chapters of my book on Thoreau. Have you seen it?
Well, if you left it here, it must be here somewhere.
Well, when are you going to be married? There must be something more you can tell us about Elaine.
Elaine? Oh, yes, Elaine. Thought it was brilliant.
What was, dear?
My chapter on Thoreau.
Oh. Well, when Elaine comes back, I think we ought to have a little celebration. We must drink to your happiness. Martha, isn't there some of that Lady Baltimore cake left?
Oh, yes.
And I'll open a bottle of wine.
Oh, and to think that it happened in this room.
Oh, now, where could I have put it?
I do hope the play will be something you can enjoy for once. It may be something romantic. What's the name of it?
Murder Will Out.
Oh, dear.
When the curtain goes up, the first thing you'll see will be a dead body. Now, could it be in the window seat, I wonder? My God! Aunt Abby, you were going to make plans for Teddy to go to that sanatorium, the Happy Dale.
Yes, dear, it's all arranged. Dr. Harper was here today and brought the papers for Teddy to sign. Here they are.
He's got to sign them right away.
Yes, that's what Dr. Harper thinks. Then there won't be any legal difficulties after we pass on.
Here's the cake.
Oh, yes, dear. Put it down there, will you, Martha?
He's got to sign them this minute. He's down in the cellar. Now get him up here right away.
Oh, there's no such hurry as that.
No. When Teddy starts working on the canal, you can't get his mind on anything else.
Teddy's got to go to Happy Dale now. Tonight.
Oh, no, dear. That's not until after we're gone.
Now, listen, darlings. I'm frightfully sorry, but I've got some shocking news for you. You know we've sort of humoured Teddy because we thought he was harmless.
Well, he is harmless.
He was harmless. That's why he has to go to Happy Dale. Why he has to be confined.
Mortimer, why have you suddenly turned against Teddy, your own brother?
Teddy's killed a man.
Nonsense, dear.
There's a body in the window seat.
Yes, dear, we know.
You know?
Well, of course, dear, but it's nothing to do with Teddy.
Now, Mortimer, just forget about it. Forget you ever saw the gentleman.
Forget?
We never dreamed you'd look.
But who is he?
His name is Hoskins, Adam Hoskins. That's really all I know about him, except that he's a Methodist.
That's all you know about him? What's he doing here? I mean, what's happened to him?
He died.
Aunt Martha, men don't just get into window seats and die.
Oh, no, but he died first.
How?
Now, Mortimer, don't be so inquisitive. The gentleman died because he drank some wine with poison in it.
But how did the poison get in the wine?
Well, we put it in wine because it's less noticeable. When it's in tea, it has a distinct odour.
You put it in the wine?
Yes. And I put Mr. Hoskins in the window seat because Dr. Harper was coming.
So you knew what you'd done. You didn't want Dr. Harper to see the body.
Well, not at tea, dear. That wouldn't have been very nice. Now, Mortimer, you know the whole thing. Just forget about it. I do think Martha and I have the right to our own little secrets.
What are we going to do? I mean, what are we going to do?
What are we going to do about what, dear?
There's a body in that window seat.
Yes, dear, Mr. Hoskins.
Well, I can't turn you over to the police, but what am I going to do?
Oh, well, for one thing, dear, stop being so excited.
But Mr. Hotchkiss.
Hoskins, dear.
Well, whatever his name is, you can't leave him there.
Oh, we don't intend to, dear.
No, Teddy's down in the cellar now, digging the lock.
You mean you're going to bury Mr. Hotchkiss in the cellar?
Oh, yes, dear. Well, that's what we did with the others.
You can't bury Mr. Others?
It's the other gentleman.
When you say others, do you mean others? More than one others?
Oh, yes, dear. Now, let me see. This is 11. Isn't it, Abby?
Oh, no, dear, this makes 12.
No, I think you're wrong, Abby. This is only 11.
No, dear, because I remember when Mr. Hoskins first came in, it occurred to me that he would make just a round dozen.
Well, you really shouldn't count the first one.
Oh, but I was counting the first one, so that makes it 12. Anyway, they're all down in the cellar.
All right now, 12. Now tell me, who was the first one?
Mr. Midgley. He was a Baptist.
Of course, I still think we can't claim full credit for him, because he just died.
Martha means without any help from us. You see, Mr. Midgley came here looking for a room.
It was after you moved to New York.
Yes, and it didn't seem right for that lovely room to be going to waste when there were so many people who needed it.
He was such a lonely old man.
All his kith and kin were dead, and it left him so forlorn and unhappy.
And we felt so sorry for him.
And then, when his heart attack came on, and he sat dead in that chair, looking so peaceful, you remember, Martha? We made up our minds then and there that if we could help other lonely old men to that same peace, we would.
Teddy had been digging in Panama, down in the cellar, and he thought Mr. Midgley was a yellow fever victim.
Yes, and that meant he had to be buried immediately.
So we all took him down to Panama and put him in the lock. That's why we told you not to worry now, because we know exactly what has to be done.
And that's how this all started? That man walking in here and dropping dead.
Yes, of course. You see, we realized we couldn't depend on that happening again. So...
You remember those jars of poison that have been up on the shelves in Grandfather's laboratory all these years?
And you know your Aunt Martha's knack for mixing things.
Well, dear, for a gallon of elderberry wine, I take 1 teaspoonful of arsenic and then add half a teaspoonful of strychnine and then just a pinch of cyanide.
Should have quite a kick.
Yes, as a matter of fact, one of our gentlemen found time to say, how delicious.
Well, I'll have to get things started in the kitchen.
Mortimer, I wish you could stay for dinner.
I'm trying out a new recipe.
I couldn't eat a thing.
I'll come and help you, dear. Well, I feel so much better now. Oh, you have to wait for Elaine, haven't you, Mortimer? How happy you must be. Well, dear, I'll leave you alone with your thoughts.
Oh, what am I going to do? What am I... Oh, it's you, Elaine.
Hello.
Now, you run along home, and I'll call you up tomorrow.
Tomorrow?
You know I always call you up every day or two.
Well, we're going to the theatre tonight.
No, we're not.
Well, why not?
Elaine, some things come up.
What, darling? Mortimer, you've lost your job.
No, I haven't lost my job. I'm just not covering that play tonight. Now, you run along home, Elaine.
I've got to know what's happened. You can tell me.
No, dear, I can't.
But if we're going to be married...
Married?
Have you forgotten?
Oh, yes. Well, as far as I know, that's still on. Now, you run along home, Elaine. I've got to do something.
Listen, you can't propose to me 1 minute and throw me out of the house the next.
Now, look, Elaine, you're a sweet girl, and I love you, but I have something on my mind, and I want you to go home and wait till I call you.
Well, don't try to be masterful.
Look, when we're married and I have problems to face, I hope you're less tedious and uninspired.
And when we're married, if we're married, I hope I find you adequate.
Elaine! Hello.
That's the doorbell, dear, not the telephone.
Oh,
How do you do? Come in.
I understand you have a room to rent.
Yes. Won't you step in?
Are you the lady of the house?
Yes. I am Miss Brewster, and this is my sister, another Miss Brewster.
My name is Gibbs.
Won't you sit down?
let me talk to you.
May I see the room?
Well, why don't you sit down for a minute and let's get acquainted?
Well, that won't do much good if I don't like the room.
Is Brooklyn your home?
Haven't got a home. Live in a hotel. Don't like it.
Are your family Brooklyn people?
Haven't got any family.
All alone in the world.
Yes.
Well, Martha, perhaps some wine. You've come to just the right house, Mr. Gibbs. Now, do sit down.
What church do you go to? There's an Episcopal church practically next door.
I'm Presbyterian. Used to be. Is there always this much noise?
Oh, he doesn't live with us.
Well, I'd really like to see the room.
Well, it's upstairs. Won't you try a glass of our wine before we go up?
Never touch it.
Well, we make this ourselves. It's elderberry wine.
Oh, elderberry wine. Haven't tasted elderberry wine since I was a boy. Thank you. Do you have your own elderberry bushes?
No, but the cemetery is full of them.
Do you serve meals?
Well, we might. But first, just see whether you like our wine.
There must be somebody.
Just try this, Mr. Gibbs.
Well, why don't you try Joe? I mean, he's... Stop! Stop.
No,
Stop. No, do you want to be poisoned? Get out. Do you want to be killed? Do you want to be murdered? Get out.
Well, now you've spoiled everything.
Oh, you can't do things like that. It's not nice. People wouldn't understand. Well, he wouldn't understand.
Eppie, we shouldn't have told Mortimer.
What I mean is, well, this has developed into a very bad habit.
Now, Mortimer, we don't try to stop you from doing things you like to do, and I don't see why you should interfere with us.
Hello. All right, Al. I'll see the first act and I'll pan the hell out of it. But look, El, you've got to do something for me. Get hold of O'Brien, our lawyer. Now get him to meet me at the theatre. Now don't let me down. Okay? I'm starting now. Look, I've got to go to the theatre. But before I go, will you promise me something?
Well, we'd have to know what it was first.
You know I'd do anything in the world for you, and I want you to do just this little thing for me.
Well, what do you want us to do?
Don't do anything. Don't let anyone in, and leave Mr. Hoskins right where he is in the window seat.
Why?
I want time to think.
Well, we were planning on holding the service before dinner.
Service?
Certainly. You don't think we'd bury Mr. Hoskins without a full Methodist service, do you?
But can't that wait till I get back?
Oh, then you could join us.
Oh, yes, yes.
Oh, Mortimer, you will enjoy the service, especially the hymns. Do you remember how beautifully Mortimer used to sing in the choir before his voice changed?
And remember, you're not going to let anyone in while I'm gone. It's a promise?
Well...
Oh, Martha, yes. We can do that now that Mortimer's cooperating with us. Well, all right, Mortimer.
Have you got some paper? Now, I'll get back just as soon as I can.
Well, will this do?
That's fine, yes. It'll save time if I write my review on the way to the theatre. Goodbye.
You know, Mortimer didn't seem quite himself today.
Well, of course, that's only natural. He's just become engaged. That always makes a man nervous.
Abby, if Mortimer's coming back for the service, we shall need another hymnal.
You know, dear, it's really my turn to read the service. But since you weren't here when Mr. Hoskins came, I want you to do it.
Ah, that's very nice of you, dear. But are you sure you want me to?
Well, it's only fair.
Well, I think I'll wear my black bombazine and Mother's old brooch.
I'll go, dear.
Oh, we promised Mortimer we wouldn't let anyone in.
Well, who do you suppose it is?
Wait a minute. I'll look. Oh, it's two men, and I've never seen them before.
Are you sure?
Yes, and there's a car at the curb. They must have come in that.
Well, let me look.
Do you recognize them?
No, they're strangers to me.
We'll just have to pretend we're not home. Oh, hide here behind the screen. Go on, get out.
All right,
quietly.
All right.
Come in, Doctor. This is the home of my youth.
So,
As a boy, I couldn't wait to escape from this place now. I'm glad to escape back into it.
yeah, Charlie. It's a fine hideout.
Yeah, the family must still live here. I hope there's a fatted calf awaiting the return of the prodigal.
Yeah, I'm hungry. Look, Johnny, wine.
As though we were expected.
Oh, who are you? And what are you doing here?
Why, Aunt Abby. Aunt Martha. It's Jonathan.
You get out of here.
But it's Jonathan. Your nephew, Jonathan.
Oh, no, you're not. You're nothing like Jonathan. You get out of here.
But I am Jonathan. And this is Dr. Einstein.
And he's not Dr. Einstein either.
Not Dr. Albert Einstein, Dr. Hermann Einstein.
Well, who are you? You're not our nephew, Jonathan.
I see you're still wearing the lovely garnet ring that Grandma Brewster bought in England.
Oh.
And you, Aunt Martha, still the high collar to hide the scar where Grandfather's acid burned you?
His voice is like Jonathan's, Abby.
Have you been in an accident?
No. My face. Dr. Einstein is responsible for that. He's a plastic surgeon. He changes people's faces.
Don't worry, ladies.
The last 5 years, I give Johnny 3 new faces. I give him another one right away. This last face, well, I was intoxicated at the time.
You see, Doctor, you see what you've done to me, even my own family.
Johnny, you're home in this lovely house. How often he tells me about Brooklyn, about this house, about his aunts that he loves so much.
I promised Dr. Einstein that no matter how rushed we were in passing through Brooklyn, I'd take time to bring him here for one of Aunt Martha's home-cooked dinners.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm afraid there wouldn't be enough.
Oh, Abby, it's a pretty good-sized pot roast.
Pot roast?
I think the least we could do
Thank you, Aunt Martha. We'll stay to dinner.
Well, we'll hurry it along.
Oh, yes. And if we had a few more vegetables, lots of potatoes.
Find something else to have.
Yes.
Well, Johnny, where do we go from here? We got to think fast. The police. The police have got pictures of that face. I got to operate on you right away. We got to find some place for that. And we got to find a place for Mr. Spenalzo.
Oh,
too.
don't waste any worry on that rat.
But, Johnny, we got a hot stiff on our hands.
Forget Mr. Spenalzo.
But you can't leave a dead body in the car. You shouldn't have killed him, Johnny. He's a nice fellow. He gives us a lift, and what happens?
He said I looked like Boris Karloff. You did that to me.
Take it easy, Johnny. Now, look. Your aunts, they don't want us here.
We're here for dinner, aren't we?
Oh, yeah, but after dinner.
Leave it to me, Doctor. I'll handle it. This house will be our headquarters for years.
Oh, that would be beautiful, Johnny. This nice, quiet house. And those aunts of yours, what sweet ladies. I love them already. I get the bags, yeah?
Doctor, we must wait until we're invited.
But you just said that...
We'll be invited.
And if they say no?
Doctor, 2 helpless old women.
Oh, it's like comes through a beautiful dream. Only I hope we're not dreaming. It's so peaceful.
That's what makes this house so perfect for us. It's so peaceful. Yes, aunties, those 5 years in Chicago were amongst the busiest and happiest of my life.
And from Chicago we go to South Bend, Indiana, and there we hit the fascinating...
They wouldn't be interested in our experience in Indiana.
Well, Jonathan, you've led a very interesting life, I'm sure.
But we really shouldn't have allowed you to talk so late.
My meeting Dr. Einstein in London, I might say, changed the whole course of my life. You remember, I'd been in South Africa in the diamond business, then Amsterdam, the diamond market. I wanted to go back to South Africa, and Dr. Einstein made it possible for me.
When we take off the bandages, his face looked so different, the nurse had to introduce me.
You know, I think we'll go back to that face, Doctor.
Yeah, it's safe now.
Well, I know you both want to get to where you're going.
My dear aunts, I'm so full of that delicious dinner, I'm unable to move a muscle.
Yeah, he's nice here.
Well, after all, it's very late.
I found it! I found it!
What did you find, Teddy?
The story of my life. My biography. Here's the picture I was telling you about, General. Here we are, both of us. President Roosevelt and General Goethals, the Calibre cat. That's me, General, and that's you.
My, how I've changed.
Well, of course you've changed. That picture hasn't been taken yet. We haven't even started work on Calibre cat. We're still digging locks. So, General, we'll both go to Panama and inspect the new lock.
No, Teddy, not to Panama.
No, we go some other time. Panama's a long way off.
Nonsense, it's down in the cellar.
The cellar?
Well, we let him dig the Panama Canal in the cellar.
General Goethals, as President of the United States, Commander-in-Chief of the Army and Navy, and the man who gave you this job, I demand that you accompany me to the inspection of the new lock.
Oh, all right, Mr. President. We go to Panama.
Fine, fine. Follow me, General.
Lead on, Mr. President. I am following.
Jonathan, there's a very nice little hotel just 3 blocks down.
Aunt Martha, this is my home.
Oh, but Jonathan, you can't stay here.
Dr. Einstein and I need a place to sleep. You remembered this afternoon that as a boy I could be very disagreeable. It wouldn't be very pleasant for any of us if I had...
Well, perhaps we'd better let them stay here tonight, Abby.
Well, just overnight, Jonathan.
That's settled. Now, if you'll get my room ready...
It only needs airing out.
Yes, well, you see, we keep it ready to show our lodgers.
Hey, Johnny! Down in the cellars.
Dr. Einstein, my dear aunts have invited us to live with them.
Oh, you fixed it.
Well, you're sleeping here tonight.
Please get our room ready immediately.
Well, if you insist.
Well, for tonight only, then.
Yes, but it's all very awkward, Abby, isn't it?
No, never mind. You put on the kettle and...
Johnny. Johnny, when I go down in the cellar, what do you think I find?
What?
The Panama Canal.
The Panama Canal.
It just fits, Mr. Spinalzo. It's a hole Teddy dug, 6 feet long and 3 feet wide.
Down there?
You'd think they knew we were bringing Mr. Spinalzo along. That's hospitality.
Rather a good joke on my aunts. They're living in a house with a body buried in the cellar.
How do we get him in?
Yes, we can't just walk him in through the door. I got it. We'll drive the car up between the house and the cemetery. Then, when they've gone to bed, we'll bring Mr. Spinalzo in through that window.
Oh.
Jonathan.
Huh?
Your room is ready.
Oh, then you can go to bed. We're moving the car up behind the house.
Well, it's all right when it is until the morning.
I don't want to leave it in the street. That might be against the law.
Yeah, it is. That's quite right.
Come on, Doctor.
Abby, what are we going to do?
Well, we are not going to let them stay more than one night in this house, for one thing. What would the neighbours think? People coming in with one face and going out with another?
But what are we going to do about Mr. Hoskins?
Oh, Mr. Hoskins. Can't be very comfortable for him in the window seat. And he's been so patient, poor dear. Well, I think Teddy had better get Mr. Hoskins downstairs right away.
Abby, I will not invite Jonathan to the funeral service.
Oh, no, dear. We'll wait until they've gone to bed, and then we'll come down and hold the service.
Yes.
Well, General Goethals was very pleased. He says the canal is just the right size.
Teddy, there's been another yellow fever victim.
Dear me, this will be a shock to the General.
Then we mustn't tell him about it.
But it's his department.
Oh, no, we mustn't tell him, Teddy. It would just spoil his visit.
I'm sorry, Aunt Abby. It's out of my hands. He'll have to be told. Army regulations, you know.
No, Teddy, we must keep it a secret.
Yes.
A state secret?
Yes, a state secret.
Promise?
You have the word of the President of the United States.
Now, Teddy, you go down back into the cellar, and when I call you, you come up and take the poor man down to the canal.
And we'll come down later and hold the service.
Where is the poor devil?
He's in the window seat.
Oh, seems to be spreading. We've never had yellow fever there before.
Martha, when Jonathan and Dr. Einstein come back, let's see if we can get them to go to bed right away.
Oh, yes. And then by the time they're asleep, we'll be dressed for the funeral.
Jonathan, your room is waiting for you. You can go right up.
Oh, well, I'm afraid we don't keep Brooklyn hours, but you two run along to bed.
Oh, no, you must be very tired, both of you. And we don't go to bed this early.
Well, you should. It's time I came back to take care of you.
Well, we weren't planning to go until...
Martha.
Well, come on then, Doctor. We'll go and unpack.
Yeah.
Good night, Aunt Abby. Good night, Aunt Martha.
Good night, Jonathan.
Good night, Doctor.
Good night, ladies.
Now, Teddy.
Everything's ready in the canal?
Good. Now for the yellow fever victim.
Oh, poor fella. It's very sad.
Lift the lid, Martha.
Very well.
That's right.
Oh, he's really very nice looking, considering he's a Methodist.
Now, lift, Teddy. That's right. Away you go.
Oh, poor devil's dropping like flies. It's a heavy one, this one.
Now we'll go and change for the funeral, dear.
Oh, yes, my black bombazine.
Well, come on, dear.
All right, Johnny. They've gone to bed.
Good. I'll get the window open. You go round and hand Mr. Spinazzo through.
No, he's too heavy for me. You go outside and push. I stay here and pull. Then together we get him down to Panama.
All right. I'll take a look round outside the house. You open the window.
Yeah, all right. Oh, who left the window seat open, I wonder? Johnny. Okay, alley-oop. Oh, wait a minute. You lost a leg somewhere. Now I got him. Come on. Oh, shh. Oh, that was me, Johnny. I slipped.
Be more careful.
Well, his shoe came off. Yes. All right, Johnny, I got him. Oh. Johnny, somebody at the door. Go quick.
What about...
No. A manage here. Go quick. Oh, come in. Where's that shoe? Oh, the other leg. In you go. That's it. Oh.
Miss Abby? Miss Martha? Miss Abby? Miss Martha? Who are you?
Who are you?
I'm Elaine Harper. I live next door.
Then what are you doing here?
I think you'd better explain what you're doing here.
We happen to live here.
You don't live here. I'm in this house every day and I've never seen you before. Where are Miss Abby and Miss Martha? What have you done to them?
Perhaps we'd better introduce ourselves. This is Dr. Einstein.
Delighted, happy.
Dr. Einstein?
And I'm Jonathan Brewster.
Oh, you're Jonathan.
I see you've heard of me. Why did you come here at this time of night?
I thought I saw someone prowling round the house. I suppose it was you. Is that your car?
You saw someone at the car?
Yes.
What else did you see?
Just that's all.
I think you're lying.
Oh, I think she tells the truth, Johnny. We let her go now.
I think she's lying. I think she's dangerous.
Take your hands off me!
It's going to be a private funeral.
Teddy, tell these men who I am.
That's my daughter, Alice.
No, Teddy!
What's the matter? What's happening?
We caught a burglar, a sneak thief. Go back to your room.
Oh, Mortimer. Mortimer, where have you been?
To the Nora Bayes Theatre, and I should have known better. Good Lord. Who are you?
That is your brother Jonathan, and this is Dr. Einstein.
I've come home, Mortimer.
Who did you say this was, Aunt Abby?
It's your brother, Jonathan. He's had his face changed. Dr. Einstein performed the operation.
Jonathan, you always were a horror, but you have to look like one.
Oh, now, easy, Johnny, easy.
Mortimer, have you forgotten the things I used to do to you when we were boys? Remember the time you were tied to the bedpost?
It is Jonathan. Yes, I remember. I remember you as the most detestable, vicious, venomous form of animal life I ever knew.
What?
Well, now, don't you two boys start quarrelling again the minute you've seen each other.
There won't be any fighting, Aunt Abby. Jonathan, you're not wanted here. Get out.
Dr. Einstein and I have been invited to stay.
Not in this house.
Well, just for tonight.
I don't want him anywhere near me.
Yes, but we did invite them for tonight, and it wouldn't be very nice to go back on our word.
All right. But the first thing in the morning, out. Now, where are they sleeping?
Well, we've put them in Jonathan's old room.
Well, I'm sleeping in that room. I'm here to stay.
Johnny, we sleep down here.
You bet your life you sleep down here.
You sleep on the sofa, Johnny, and I sleep on the window seat.
Yes, you sleep on the window seat. The window seat? No, now let's not argue about it. I mean, that window seat's good enough for me. Well, I'll sleep on the window seat.
You know, Johnny, all this argument, it makes me think of Mr. Spinalzo.
Spinalzo? Well, now, Mortimer, it isn't really necessary to inconvenience you like this. We'll sleep down here.
Jonathan, your sudden consideration for me is very unconvincing.
Come on, Doctor.
Yeah.
We'll be packed in a few minutes, and then you can have the room, Mortimer.
You're just wasting your time. I told you I'm sleeping down here.
Mortimer.
What's the matter, dear?
I've almost been killed.
You've almost been... Abby? Martha?
No, it was Jonathan.
You see, he mistook her for a sneak thief.
No, it was more than that. He's some kind of maniac. Mortimer, I'm afraid of him.
But, my darling, you're trembling. Have you any smelling salts, Auntie?
No, but do you think some hot tea or coffee?
Coffee. Make some for me, too, and some sandwiches. I haven't had any dinner.
Oh, we'll make something for both of you.
Do you know what time it is? I mean, why aren't you in bed? I mean, it's after 12. 12? Elaine, you've got to go home.
What?
No. You wanted some sandwiches. It won't take a minute.
We'll make a nice supper for both of you. Oh, and we'll open a bottle of wine.
Yes, all right. Let's have a bottle of wine. No wine.
Mortimer, what's going on in this house?
What do you mean? What's going on in this house?
You were supposed to take me to dinner and the theatre tonight. You called it off. You asked me to marry you. I said I would, and 5 minutes later you threw me out of the house. And tonight, just after your brother tries to strangle me, you want to chase me home. Now listen, Mr. Brewster, before I go home, I want to know where I stand. Do you love me?
I love you very much, Elaine. In fact, I love you so much, I can't marry you.
Have you gone crazy?
I don't think so. But it's just a matter of time. You see, insanity runs in my family. In fact, it practically gallops. That's why I can't marry you.
Now, wait a minute. You've got to do better than that.
No, dear, there's a taint in the Brewster blood.
Just because Teddy's a little...
No, it goes way back. I mean, the first Brewster, the one who came over on the Mayflower. You know, in those days, the Indians used to scalp the settlers. Well, he used to scalp the Indians.
Mortimer, that's ancient history.
No, the whole family. I mean, take my grandfather. He tried his patent medicines out on dead people to be sure he wouldn't kill them.
Made $1 million.
And then there's Jonathan. You just said he was a maniac. Well, he tried to kill you.
But he's your brother, not you. I'm in love with you.
And there's Teddy, too. I mean, you know Teddy. Well, he thinks he's Roosevelt. No, dear. No Brewster should marry. I realise now that if I'd met my father in time, I'd have stopped him.
Now, darling, all this doesn't prove you're crazy. Look at your aunts. They're Brewsters, aren't they? And they're the sanest, sweetest people I've ever known.
Even they have their peculiarities. My God, there's another one in there.
No, Mortimer, you can't tell me anything about your aunts.
I'm not going to. Elaine, you've got to go home. Something very important has just come up.
If you think you're going to get out of this by pretending you're insane, you're crazy. Maybe you're not going to marry me, but I'm going to marry you. I love you, you don't.
Well, if you love me, will you get the hell out of here?
Take me home, won't you? I'm afraid.
Afraid? A little walk through the cemetery? Well, good night, dear. I'll call you up in a day or two.
You critic!
Aunt Abby, come here.
Yes, dear, what is it? Where is Elaine?
I thought you promised me not to let anyone in this house while I was gone.
Well, Jonathan just walked in.
I don't mean Jonathan.
And Dr. Einstein was with him?
I don't mean Dr. Einstein. Who's that in the window seat?
Well, we told you, Mr. Hoskins.
It is not Mr. Hoskins. Look.
Now, who can that be?
Are you trying to tell me you've never seen this man before?
Certainly. But this is a fine how do you do. It's getting so that anybody thinks he can walk into this house.
Now, Aunt Abby, Now, don't you try to get out of this. That's another of your gentlemen.
Mortimer, how can you say such a thing? Well, that man's an impostor. And if he came here to be buried in our cellar, he's mistaken.
Aunt Abby, you admitted that you put Mr. Hoskins in the window seat.
Yes, I did.
Well, this man couldn't have just got the idea for Mr. Hoskins. By the way, where is Mr. Hoskins?
Oh, well, he must have gone to Panama.
Oh, you buried him?
No, not yet. He's just down there waiting for the service, poor dear. We haven't had a minute, what with Jonathan in the house.
Jonathan?
We've always wanted to hold a double funeral, but I will not read a service over a total stranger.
A stranger? Aunt Abby, how can I believe you? I mean, there are 12 men in the cellar, and you admit that you poisoned them.
Yes, I did, dear, but you don't think I'd stoop to telling a fib. Martha?
Oh, Mortimer, I'd like to have a word with you.
A word's about all you'll have time for, Jonathan. You're beginning to bore me.
Yes, dear? What do you want?
Martha, just look and see what's in that window seat.
No.
Now, Aunt Abby.
Oh, Jonathan. Jonathan, let Aunt Martha see what's in the window seat. Aunt Abby, I owe you an apology. I have very good news for you. Jonathan is leaving. He's taking Dr. Einstein and their cold companion with him. Jonathan, you're my brother. You're a Brewster. Now, I'm going to give you a chance to get away and take the evidence with you. Now, you can't ask for much more than that, can you? I'll count up to 3. 1, 2, 3. Very well. In that case, I'll have to call the police.
Are you still giving me orders after seeing what happened to Mr. Spinalzo?
Spinalzo?
I knew he was a foreigner.
Remember, what happened to Mr. Spinalzo can happen to you, too.
Hello, Miss Abby.
Oh, Officer O'Hara. Is there something we can do for you?
Well, I saw your lights on and I thought there might be sickness in the house. Oh, you've got company. Well, I'm sorry I disturbed you.
No, don't go, officer. Don't go.
No, don't go.
Officer O'Hara, this is our nephew, Mortimer.
Oh, pleased to meet you.
And this is another nephew, Jonathan.
Oh, pleased to make your acquaintance. Well, it must be nice having your nephews visiting you, Miss Brewster. Are they going to stay for a bit?
I'm staying. My brother Jonathan is just leaving.
I've met you before, haven't I, Mr. Jonathan?
I'm afraid not. He hasn't been home for years.
Your face looks familiar to me. Maybe I've seen a picture of you somewhere.
I don't think so.
Yes, Jonathan, I'd hurry if I were you. Your things are all packed, aren't they?
Well, you'll be wanting to say your goodbyes. I'll be running along.
Yeah, but what's the rush? I mean, I'd like to have you around until my brother goes.
Well, I just dropped in to make sure everything was all right.
Oh, well, we're going to have some coffee in a minute. I mean, won't you join us?
Oh, I forgot the coffee.
Oh, I'd better make some more sandwiches. I ought to know your appetite by this time, Officer O'Hara.
Don't bother. I'm due to clock in a few minutes.
Well, you can have a cup of coffee with us. I mean, my brother will be gone soon. Well, sit down.
You're not Mortimer Brewster, the dramatic critic, are you?
Yes.
Oh, well, I'm certainly glad to meet you, Mr. Brewster. We are in the same line of business.
We are?
Yes. I am a playwright.
Eh?
Oh, this being on the police force is just temporary.
Well, how long have you been on the force?
12 years. I'm collecting material for a play.
I bet it's a honey.
Oh, well, it ought to be. With all the drama I see being a cop, Mr. Brewster, you've got no idea what goes on in Brooklyn.
I think I have.
I got to go and clock in.
Wait a minute, O'Hara. That play of yours, I may be able to help you.
You would? Oh, it was fate, my walking in here tonight. Look, I'll tell you the plot.
You're on your way, Jonathan. Good. You haven't got much time, you know. But haven't you left something in the window seat? You can't go without all of your things. Well, O'Hara, it was nice meeting you. I'll see you again and we'll talk about your play.
Oh, I'm not leaving now, Mr. Brewster.
Why not?
Well, you just offered to help me with my play, didn't you? You and me are going to write my play together.
Well, I can't do that, O'Hara. I'm not a creative writer.
I'll do the creating. You just put the words to it.
But, O'Hara...
No, Mr. Brewster, I'm not leaving this house till I tell you the plot.
In that case, Mortimer, we'll be running along.
You can't go yet. You've got to take everything with you. Now, look, O'Hara, you run along now, eh? I mean, my brother's just going.
I can wait. I've been waiting 12 years.
Here's the coffee. Oh, I'm sorry I was so long.
Don't bring that in here. O'Hara, would you join us for a bite in the kitchen?
Are you sure you don't mind eating in the kitchen, Mr. O'Hara?
And where else would you eat?
Goodbye, Jonathan. Nice to have seen you again. Come on, Mortimer.
I'm glad you came to Brooklyn, Jonathan, because it gives me a chance to throw you out. I'll get going now. All 3 of you.
Doctor, this affair between my brother and me has got to be settled.
Now, Johnny, we got trouble enough. Your brother gives us a chance to get away. What more could you ask?
You don't understand. This goes back a good many years.
Now, Johnny, let's get going.
We are not going. We're going to sleep right here.
With a cop in the kitchen and Mr. Spinelzo in the window seat?
Oh, that's all he's got on us. We'll take Mr. Spinelzo, dump him in the sea, and come right back. Yeah.
Now, Johnny.
Doctor, you know when I make up my mind...
Oh, yeah. When you make up your mind, you lose your head. Brooklyn ain't a good place for you.
Doctor.
Oh, okay. We got to stick together.
Right. Hide our bags in the cellar.
Okay.
Oh, move fast. Spinelzo can go out the same way he came in.
Oh, hey, Johnny.
Huh?
Come quick.
Oh, what's the matter?
That hole in the cellar.
Oh, yeah?
We got an ace in the hole. Look.
A stiff.
Jonathan?
Yes. Mortimer?
I thought I told you to get out.
We are not going.
Oh, you're not? Mm-hmm. Well, do you want O'Hara to know what's in that window seat?
We're staying here.
All right. This gets me rid of you and Officer O'Hara at the same time.
If you tell O'Hara what's in the window seat, I'll tell him what's down in the cellar.
The cellar?
There's an elderly gentleman down there who seems to be very dead.
Well, what were you doing in the cellar?
Never mind about that. What's he doing in the cellar?
No, thanks, ma'am. I've had plenty.
Now, what are you going to say to O'Hara?
Mr. Brewster, your aunts want to hear my play too. Shall I get them in here?
No, O'Hara, you can't tell us now. You've got to clock in.
Oh, to hell with clocking in. I'll get your aunts in here and tell you the plot.
No, O'Hara, not in front of all these people. We'll get together alone, someplace later.
How about the back room at Kelly's?
Fine. You go and clock in, and I'll meet you at Kelly's.
Well, why don't you two go down to the cellar?
Well, that's all right with me. Where is it?
No. We'll go to Kelly's, but you're going to clock in on the way.
All right. It'll only take me a couple of minutes.
I'll ditch him and be back in 5 minutes. Wait for me.
We'll wait for him, Doctor. I've waited a great many years for a chance like this.
We got him right where we want him. Did he look guilty?
Have they gone? Oh, we thought we heard somebody leave.
Oh, just Mortimer, and he'll be back in a few minutes. Is there any food left in the kitchen? Get something for us to eat while we bury Mr. Spinelzo in the cellar.
Oh, no.
Oh, but he can't stay in our cellar. No, Jonathan, you've got to take him with you.
There's a friend of Mortimer's downstairs waiting for him.
A friend of Mortimer?
He and Mr. Spinelzo will get along fine together. They're both dead.
They must mean Mr. Hoskins, dear.
Mr. Hoskins?
You know about what's downstairs?
Well, but of course we do. And he's no friend of Mortimer's. He's one of our gentlemen.
Your gentlemen?
And we won't have any strangers buried in our cellar.
But Mr. Hoskins?
Mr. Hoskins isn't a stranger.
Besides, there's no room for Mr. Spinelzo. The cellar's crowded already.
Crowded? With what?
Well, there are 12 graves down there now.
12 graves?
And that leaves very little room, and we are going to need it.
You mean you and Aunt Martha have murdered...
Murdered? Certainly not. It's one of our charities.
What we've been doing is a mercy.
So you just take your Mr. Spinelzo out of here.
You've done that? Here in this house? And you buried them down below?
Johnny, we've been chased all over the world. They stay right here in Brooklyn and do just as good as you do.
What?
Well, you've got 12 and they've got 12.
I've got 13.
No, Johnny, 12.
13. There's Mr. Spinalzo,
Aye.
then the first one in London, 2 in Johannesburg, 1 in Sydney, 1 in Melbourne, 2 in San Francisco, 1 in Phoenix, Arizona.
Phoenix.
The filling station.
Oh.
The 3 in Chicago and the 1 in South Bend. That makes 13.
Oh, you can't count the one in South Bend. He died of pneumonia.
He wouldn't have got pneumonia if I hadn't shot him.
No, Johnny, he died of pneumonia. He don't count.
He counts with me. I say 13.
No, Johnny. You got 12, and they got 12. The old ladies are just as good as you are.
Oh, they are they? Well, that's easily taken care of. All I need is 1 more. That's all, just 1 more.
Well, here I am.
Ah, Mortimer. Come, in.
Hasn't Mortimer come back yet, Martha?
No.
Oh, it's a terrible thing they're doing downstairs, burying a good Methodist with a foreigner.
I will not have our cellar desecrated. It'll just have to be undone.
Yes, but we promised Mr. Hoskins a full Christian burial.
Right. Now, where's Teddy?
Mortimer, where have you been?
I've been over to Dr. Gilchrist's. I've got his signature on Teddy's commitment papers.
Mortimer, what's the matter with you?
Running round getting papers signed at a time like this.
Do you know what Jonathan's doing?
He's putting Mr. Hoskins and Mr. Spinalzo in together.
Oh, he is he? Well, let him. Is Teddy in his room?
Oh, Teddy won't be any help.
When he signs these commitment papers, I can tackle Jonathan.
But what have they got to do with it?
Well, you had to go and tell Jonathan about those 12 graves. Now, if I can make Teddy responsible for those, I can protect you. Don't you see?
No, I don't see. Come along, Martha. We are going for the police.
The police? You can't go for the police.
Why can't we?
Because if you tell the police about Mr. Spinalzo, they'll find Mr. Hoskins too, and that might make them curious, and they'd find out about the other 12 gentlemen.
Mortimer, we know the police better than you do. I don't think they'd pry into our private affairs if we asked them not to.
But if they found your 12 gentlemen, they'd have to report to headquarters, and you couldn't expect a judge and a jury to understand.
Oh, Judge Coleman would.
Yes, we know him very well.
He always comes to church to pray, just before the elections.
Yes, and he's coming here to tea someday, he promised.
Oh, Abby, we must speak to him again about that. He's so lonely since his wife died.
Yes, poor man, of course. Well, now come along to the police, Martha.
No, you can't. I won't let you. You can't leave this house, and you can't have Judge Coleman to tea.
Well, if you're not going to do something about Mr. Spinalzo, we are.
I am going to do something. Now, we may have to call the police in later, but if we do, I want to be ready for them.
You've got to get Jonathan out of this house.
Yes, and Mr. Spinalzo, too.
Oh, will you please let me do this my own way? I mean, I've got to see Teddy first.
Well, if they're not out of here by the morning, Mortimer, we are going to call the police.
They'll be out. I promise you.
Oh, Abby, that's a relief, isn't it?
Yes, if Mortimer's really going to do something at last. It just means that Jonathan's going to a lot of unnecessary trouble downstairs. Shall we better tell him? Oh, Jonathan, you might as well stop what you're doing in the cellar.
It's all done.
Well, it'll just have to be undone. You were all going to be out of this house by morning. Mortimer's promised.
Oh, are we? Oh, well, in that case, you and Aunt Martha can go to bed and have a pleasant night's sleep.
Yes, come, Abby.
Good night, Auntie.
No, not good night, Jonathan. Goodbye. By the time we get up, you'll be out of this house. Mortimer's promised.
And he has a way of doing it, too.
Oh, then Mortimer is back.
Oh, yes, he's up there talking to Teddy.
Goodbye, Jonathan.
Goodbye, Jonathan.
Perhaps you'd better say goodbye to Mortimer.
Oh, you'll see Mortimer.
Yes, I'll see Mortimer.
Well, there now. That's all fixed up smooth like a lake. Nobody'd ever know they were down there. Now, come on, Johnny, let's go up to bed, yes?
You're forgetting, Doctor.
What?
My brother, Mortimer.
Oh, Johnny, tonight? We do that tomorrow or the next day.
No, tonight, now.
Johnny, please, I'm tired. And tomorrow I got to operate.
Yes, you're operating tomorrow, Doctor, but tonight we take care of Mortimer.
Okay, we do it, but the quick way.
No, Doctor, I think this calls for something special. Where are the instruments?
I won't do it, Johnny, I won't do it.
Where are they? Oh, yes, you hid them in the cellar. Where?
I won't tell you.
I'll find them, Doctor.
Oh, dear.
Ah, Doctor.
So, you go now. Hey, Mr. Mortimer.
No, Doctor. I'm waiting for something. Something important.
Please, you go now.
Dr. Einstein, I have nothing against you personally. You seem to be a nice fellow. Now take my advice and get out of this house and get just as far away as possible.
Now listen, Johnny's in a bad mood. When he's like this, he's a madman. Things happen. Terrible things.
Well, Jonathan doesn't worry me anymore.
Ah, Himmel, don't those plays you see teach you anything?
About what?
Well, at least people in plays act like they got sense. That's more than you do.
Oh, you think so, do you? Well, I wish you had to sit through some of the ones I've had to sit through. I mean, take the little opus I saw tonight, for instance. In this play, there's a man, he's supposed to be bright. He knows he's in a house with murderers. I mean, he ought to know he's in danger. Mm-hmm. He's even been warned to get out of the house. But does he go? No. He stays there. Oh. I ask you, Doctor, is that what an intelligent person would do?
You're asking me?
He didn't even have enough sense to be frightened or to be on guard. He just sits there, like this, waiting to be trussed up. And what do you think they use to tie him up with?
What?
The curtain cord.
Oh, well, why not? A good idea. Very convenient.
So there he sits, the big dip, just waiting to be trussed up and gagged.
That's it, Doctor. Now, his legs.
Yeah.
That's fixed him.
You're right about that fellow, Mr. Mortimer. He wasn't very bright.
Now, Doctor, we go to work.
Please, Johnny, the quick way.
Doctor, we're performing before a very distinguished critic.
Johnny.
Doctor.
All right, let's get it over.
All ready, Doctor. Now.
Oh, Himmel!
That idiot, Teddy, stop him. He'll wake the neighborhood. He goes next. That's all. He goes next.
No, Johnny, not Teddy. That's where I stop. Not Teddy.
We get to Teddy later.
We don't get to him at all.
We've got to work. Fast.
Yeah, the quick way. Here, Johnny.
Yes, Doctor. The quick way.
Hey, the Colonel's got to stop blowing that horn.
Oh, it's all right, officer. We're taking the bugle away from him.
There's going to be hell to pay in the morning. We promised the neighbours he wouldn't do it anymore.
It won't happen again, officer.
I'd better speak to him myself. Hey, Mr. Mortimer, you stood me up. I waited an hour at Kelly's for you. What's happened to him? Why is he tied up like that?
He was explaining the play he saw tonight. This is what happened to the fella in the play.
Did they have that in the play you saw tonight? They practically stole it from the second act of my play. Why, in my second act, just before the... Well, I'd better begin at the beginning. It opens in the theatre, in my mother's dressing room, where I was born. Only I wasn't born yet. Hey? Yes, well, take the gag out. No, we leave it. You've got to hear the plot without interrupting. Now, when the curtain goes up, my mother's sitting there making up, see. When all of a sudden, through the door, a man with a black moustache walks in, turns to her and says, "Miss Latour, will you marry me?" There she is, lying unconscious across the table. He's standing over her with a hatchet, and I'm tied up in a chair, just like you are, Mr. Mortimer. The place is on fire, when all of a sudden, through the window, in comes the Mayor of New York. Well, How'd you like me play so far, Doctor?
Well, it put Johnny to sleep.
Well, if he's got no more interest than that, let him sleep.
It's a wonder we're not all asleep.
All right. Well, now, it's 3 days later.
Oh.
I've been transferred and I'm under charges. That's because somebody stole my badge, all right? I'm walking my beat when a guy I'm following, it turns out, is really following me. Don't let anybody in. So I figure I'll outsmart him. There's a vacant house on the corner. I goes in.
It's cops!
I stands there in the dark and I see the door handle turn.
Johnny, wake up! It's cops! Oh, let me get out
I
here.
pulls me guns, braces myself against the wall, and I says, "Come in." Hello, boys.
What's going on here, O'Hara?
Hey, Brophy, what do you know? This is Mortimer Brewster. He's going to write me play with me. I'm just telling him the story.
Did you have to tie him up to make him listen and get him undone, Klein?
Yeah, okay.
Thank you.
O'Hara, you better report at the station. The whole force is out looking for you.
Did they send you here for me?
We didn't know you were here.
We came to warn the old ladies there's hell to pay. The Colonel blew that bugle in the middle of the night and the neighbours are complaining.
The Lieutenant says the Colonel's got to be put away someplace.
Yes.
Mr. Brewster, I got to get away, so I'll just run through the third act quick.
Get away from me.
Do you know what time it is, O'Hara? It's after 8 o'clock in the morning.
It is. Well, Mr. Brewster, them first 2 acts run a little long, but I don't see what we can leave out.
You can leave it all out.
I'd better let them know we found you, O'Hara. Hey, who's that guy asleep there?
That's my brother.
Well, wake him up, someone.
Here, come on, you.
Hello, this
Wake
is
up.
Brophy.
That's it, come
Mac,
on.
Tell the lieutenant he can call off the big manhunt. We got him in the Brewster house.
Huh?
Do you want us to bring him in? Oh, right. We'll hold him right here. The lieutenant's on his way over.
So, I've been turned in, huh? All right, you've got me. And I suppose you and that stool-pigeon brother of mine there will split the reward.
Reward?
Grab him.
Now, I'll do some turning in. You think my aunts are sweet, charming old ladies, don't you? Well, there are 13 bodies buried in their cellar.
Teddy!
What are you talking about?
You'd better be careful what you're saying about your aunts. They're friends of ours.
13 bodies. I'll show you where they're buried.
Oh, yes.
You don't want to go down and see what's in the cellar?
Oh, go on down in the cellar with him, Klein.
I'm not so sure I want to be down in the cellar with him. Look at that face.
You little...
Brophy, get him off me!
Here, what do you think you're doing? Take that!
Oh, thanks, pal. Well, what do you know about that?
Come in.
What the hell are you men doing here? I told you I was going to handle this.
Well, sir, we were just about to...
What happened to him on the floor there? Did he put up a fight?
Oh, this ain't the guy that blows the bugle. This is his brother. He tried to kill Klein.
Turn him over.
Yeah, right. We kind of think he's wanted somewhere.
Oh, you kind of think he's wanted somewhere, do you? You guys should look at the circulars we hang up in the station sometimes. Certainly he's wanted. In Indiana. Escaped from the prison for the criminal insane. He's a lifer.
Was there a reward mentioned?
Yes, and I'm claiming it.
He was trying to get us down in the cellar.
He said there were 13 bodies buried down there.
13 bodies buried in the cellar? And that didn't tip you off that he came out of a nut house?
I thought all along he talked sort of crazy.
Oh, it's Shakespeare O'Hara. Where have you been all night? And you needn't bother to tell me.
I've been right here, sir, writing a play with Mortimer Brewster.
Oh, yes? Well, you're going to have plenty of time to write that play. Get back and report in. You're suspended!
Wait, can I come over sometime and use the station typewriter, sir?
No! And get out of here! Brophy.
Yes?
Take that guy on the floor somewhere else and bring him to. See what you can find out about his accomplice.
His what?
The guy that helped him to escape. He's wanted too. No wonder Brooklyn's in the shape it's in with a police force full of flatheads like you. Falling for that kind of a story. 13 bodies in the cellar.
But there are 13 bodies in the cellar.
Who are you?
I'm President Roosevelt.
What the hell is this?
Now, he's the fellow that blows the bugle.
Well, Colonel, you've blown your last bugle.
Dear me. Who's that on the floor? Another yellow fever victim?
What?
All the bodies in the cellar, a yellow fever victim.
Brophy, Will you get that guy on the floor out of here?
Yes, sir. Come on, Colonel. You help us.
Delighted to be of assistance.
That's right. Come on.
Captain?
And who are you?
Captain, I'm Mortimer Brewster.
Are you sure?
Of course I'm sure. I'd like to talk to you about my brother Teddy, the one who blew the bugle.
Mr. Brewster, we are not going to talk about that. He's got to be put away.
I agree. In fact, it's all arranged.
Where's he going?
Happydale. But I want you to know that everything that's happened round here, Teddy's responsible for. Now, those 13 bodies in the cellar.
Yes. Those 13 bodies in the cellar. It isn't enough that the neighbours are all afraid of him, and he's disturbing the peace with that bugle. But can you imagine what would happen if that cockeyed story about 13 bodies in the cellar got around? And now he's starting a yellow fever scare. Marvellous, isn't it?
13 bodies. Do you think anybody would believe that story?
Oh, well, you can't tell. Some people are just stupid enough. About a year ago, a crazy guy starts a murder rumour over in Greenpoint, and I had to dig up a half an acre just to prove that...
Good morning, Mortimer.
Oh, good morning, dear.
This is Mr. Witherspoon. He's come to meet Teddy.
To meet Teddy?
Mr. Witherspoon's the superintendent of Happydale.
Oh, how do you do?
How do you do?
This is Captain...
Lieutenant Rooney. I'm glad you're here, Super, because you're taking him back with you today.
Today? I didn't know that...
Not today.
Look, Elaine, I've got a lot of business to attend to, so you run along home and I'll call you up.
Nuts.
I'd no idea it was this immediate.
The papers are all signed. He goes today.
How dare you! You men will find out that I'm no mollycoddle. When the President of the United States is treated like that, what's the country coming to?
There's your man, Super.
Just a minute. Mr. President, I have very good news for you. Your term of office is over.
Oh, is this March the 4th?
Practically.
Well, let's see. Oh, now I go on my hunting trip to Africa. I must get started immediately. I'll get my equipment. Goodbye. Goodbye, Aunt Abby. Goodbye, Aunt Martha. I'm on my way to Africa. Isn't it wonderful? Time!
Good morning, darlings.
Oh, we have visitors.
This is Lieutenant Rooney.
Oh, how do you do, Lieutenant?
How do you do?
My, you don't look like the fusspot that the policemen say you are.
Oh?
And you haven't met Mr. Witherspoon. He's the superintendent of Happydale.
Oh, Mr. Witherspoon. How do you do?
How do you do?
You've come to meet Teddy?
He's come to take him.
Aunties, the police want Teddy to go there today.
Oh, no!
Not while we're alive.
I'm sorry, Miss Brewster, but it has to be done.
But we won't permit it. We'll promise to take the bugle away from him.
Yes, we won't be separated from Teddy.
I'm sorry, ladies, but the law's the law. He's committed himself and he's going.
Well, if he goes, we are going too.
Yes, you'll have to take us with him.
Well, why not, Mr. Witherspoon?
It's sweet of them to want to, but it's impossible. You see, we can't take sane people at Happydale.
Oh, Mr. Witherspoon, if you let us live there with Teddy, we'll see that Happydale is in our will. Yes, and for a very generous amount.
Oh, heaven knows we could use the money, but I'm afraid
Now,
it's... quite-
let's be sensible about this, ladies. I've got serious work to do. You know, there are still murders to be solved in Brooklyn.
Yes. Oh, are there?
It's not only his bugle blowing and the neighbours all afraid of him, but things would just get worse. Sooner or later, we'd be put to the trouble of digging up your cellar.
Our cellar?
Yes. Your nephew's saying that there are 13 bodies buried in your cellar.
But there are 13 bodies in our cellar.
Oh, no.
Well, if you think Teddy invented it, you come down to the cellar with us and we'll prove it to you.
Yes, but there's one, a Mr. Spinalzo, who doesn't belong here and who will have to leave. But the other 12 are our gentlemen.
Well, I don't think the lieutenant wants to go down into the cellar. I mean, well, he was telling me that only last year he had to dig up half an acre. Well, weren't you, Lieutenant?
That's right.
Oh, but you wouldn't have to dig here. The graves are all marked. We put flowers on them every Sunday.
Flower... Superintendent, don't you think you can find room for these ladies?
Well, they'd have to be committed.
Well, Teddy committed himself. I mean, can't they commit themselves? Can't they sign the papers?
Why, certainly.
No, if we can go with Teddy, we'll sign the papers. Where are they?
Yes, where are they?
Here they are.
He's coming round, Lieutenant.
Oh, good morning, Mr. Klein. Are you here too?
Yes, ma'am. Brophy and I have got your other nephew out in the kitchen.
Well, sign him up, Superintendent. I want to get this all cleaned up. 13 bodies.
If you'll sign right here, Miss Brewster.
And you on this one, Aunt Abby?
Oh, you know, I'm really looking forward to going. The neighbourhood here has changed so.
Just think, a front lawn again.
Oh, we're overlooking something.
What?
Well, we're going to need the signature of a doctor.
Oh. Ah, Dr. Einstein, you're just in time. Will you come over here? We'd like you to sign some papers.
Oh, no, please. I was just on my way.
Come right over, Doctor. At one time last night, I thought the doctor was going to operate on me. That's right. Just sign here, Doctor.
Oh,
good.
Yeah.
And here.
Now use the phone.
Go ahead.
Are you leaving, Doctor?
Oh, I think I must.
Oh, aren't you going to wait for Jonathan?
I don't think we are going to the same place.
We picked up that guy that's wanted in Indiana. There's a description of his accomplice. Read it to me, will you? Yeah. 44, 5'6", talks with a German accent.
Oh.
Poses as a doctor. Thanks, Max.
It's all right, Lieutenant. The doctor here has just completed the signatures.
Thanks, Doc. You're really doing Brooklyn a service.
You mean I can go?
Sure. Why not?
Oh, thank you. Heaven will reward you for this. Ladies, Gesundheit. Gentlemen, Mazel tov.
Now, Mr. Brewster, you sign as next of kin.
Yes, of course. Right here.
That's fine.
And that makes everything complete? Everything legal?
Oh, yes.
Well, aunties, now you're safe.
When do you think you'll be ready to start, ladies?
Mr. Witherspoon, why don't you go upstairs and tell Teddy just what he can take along with him?
Upstairs?
I'll show you.
No, Mortimer, you stay here. We want to talk to you. Yes, Mr. Witherspoon, just upstairs and turn to the left.
Thank you. I shan't be long.
Well, Mortimer, now that we are moving, this house really is yours.
Yes, dear, we want you to live here now.
No, Aunt Abby. This house is too full of memories.
Oh, but you'll need a house when you and Elaine are married.
Darlings, that's very indefinite.
It is nothing of the kind. We're going to be married right away.
Mortimer, you know, we're really very worried about something.
Now, darlings, you're going to love it at Happydale.
Oh, yes, we're very happy about that. Well, that's just it. We don't want anything to go wrong.
Will they investigate those signatures?
Oh, don't worry. They're not going to look up Dr. Einstein.
No, it's not his signature, dear. It's yours.
You see, you signed as next of kin.
Well, of course. Why not?
Well, dear, it's something we never wanted to tell you. But now you're a man. And it's something Elaine should know, too. You see, dear, you're not really a Brewster.
What?
You see, your mother came to us as a cook, and you were born about 3 months afterwards, and she was such a sweet woman and such a good cook, we didn't want to lose her. So our brother married her.
I'm not really a Brewster?
Oh, now don't feel badly about it, dear.
And Elaine, it won't make any difference to you.
Elaine, did you hear? Do you understand? I'm a bastard.
Yes, isn't that nice?
Oh, darling.
Well, now I really must see about breakfast.
No, Mortimer's coming over to my house. Father's gone to Philadelphia, and Mortimer and I are going to have breakfast together.
Yes, I need some coffee. I've had quite a night. Well, come and see you darlings at Happydale. Goodbye.
Dear boy.
Oh, I hope they'll be very happy.
We won't need the wagon. My car's out front.
Oh, are you leaving now, Jonathan?
Yes, he's going back to Indiana. There's some people there who want to take care of him for the rest of his life. Now, come on.
Well, Jonathan, isn't it nice to know you have some place to go to?
We're leaving, too.
Yes, we're going to Happydale.
Then this house is seeing the last of the Brewsters.
Unless Mortimer wants to live here.
I have a suggestion to make. Why don't you turn this property over to the church?
Oh, we never thought of that.
After all, it should be part of the cemetery.
All right, get going. I'm a busy man.
Goodbye, aunties. I can't better my record now, but neither can you. At least I have that satisfaction. The score stands even, 12 all. Goodbye.
Oh. Jonathan always was a mean boy. Never could stand seeing anyone get ahead of him.
I wish we could show him he isn't so smart. Mm-hmm. Oh, Mr. Witherspoon, does your family live with you at Happydale?
I have no family.
Oh, I suppose you consider everyone at Happydale your family.
I'm afraid you don't quite understand. As head of the institution, I have to keep quite aloof.
Oh, but that must make it very lonely for you.
Oh.
It does. But my duty is my duty.
Well, Martha, if Mr. Witherspoon won't join us for breakfast, I think at least we should offer him a glass of elderberry wine.
Elderberry wine?
We make it ourselves.
Why, yes, sir. Of course, at Happydale our relationship will be more formal, but here... you don't see much elderberry wine nowadays. I thought I'd had my last glass of it.
Oh, no.
No. This is your last glass, Mr. Witherspoon.
In Arsenic and Old Lace by Joseph Kesselring, Abby Brewster was played by Sybil Thorndike, Teddy Brewster by Desmond Walter Ellis, and Dr. Harper by Lewis Stringer. Officer Brophy, David Valler, Officer Klein, John Rye, Martha Brewster, Athene Seiler, Elaine Harper, Prunella Scales, Mortimer Scales, Dinsdale Landon, Mr. Gibbs and Lieutenant Rooney, Edward Kelsey. Jonathan Brewster was played by Heron Carvick, Dr. Einstein by Gerald Cross, Officer O'Hara by Alaric Cotter, and Mr. Witherspoon, Lockwood West. The producer was Graham Gould.
Prunella Scales, Freddie Jones, and Dennis Hawthorne in Bernard Shaw's comedy, You Never Can Tell. A dentist's waiting room on a fine August morning in 1896. Not the usual tiny London den, but the best sitting room of a furnished lodging in a terrace on the seafront at a fashionable watering place. That was my first tooth.
Your first? Do you mean to say that you began practicing on me?
Well, every dentist has to begin with somebody. Why didn't you let me give you gas?
Because you said it would be 5 shillings extra.
Oh, don't say that. It makes me feel as if I'd hurt you for the sake of 5 shillings.
Well, so you have. Why shouldn't you? It's your business to hurt people. You have a good view of the sea from these rooms. Are they expensive?
Yes?
You don't own the whole house, do you?
No.
Your furniture isn't quite the latest thing, is it?
It's my landlord.
I suppose you haven't been here long.
6 weeks. Is there anything else you would like to know?
Any family?
I am not married.
Of course not. Anybody can see that. I mean sisters and mother and that sort of thing.
Not on the premises.
If you've been here 6 weeks, and mine was your first tooth, the practice can't be very large, can it?
Not as yet.
Well, good luck. 5 shillings, you said it would be?
5 shillings.
You charge 5 shillings for everything?
Yes.
Why?
It's my system. I'm what's called a 5-shilling dentist.
How nice. Well, here, a nice new 5-shilling piece. Your first fee.
Thank you.
The young lady's brother, sir.
Am I in time?
No, it's all over.
Oh, did you howl?
Oh, something awful. Mr. Valentine, this is my brother Phil. Phil, this is Mr. Valentine, our new dentist. He's only been here 6 weeks, and he's a bachelor. The house isn't his, and the furniture is the landlord's. He got my tooth out beautifully at the first go, and he and I are great friends.
Been asking a lot of questions?
Oh, no.
I'm glad to hear it. It's so good of you not to mind us, Mr. Valentine. The fact is we've never been in England before, and our mother tells us that the people here simply won't stand us. Come and lunch with us.
Oh, do, Mr. Valentine.
At the Marine Hotel, 1:30.
We shall be able to tell Mamma that a respectable Englishman has promised to lunch with us.
Say no more, Mr. Valentine, you'll come.
Say no more. I haven't said anything. May I ask who I have the pleasure of entertaining? It really is quite impossible for me to lunch at the Marine Hotel with 2 perfect strangers.
Oh, what bosh. 1 patient in 6 weeks? What difference does it make to you?
No, Dolly. My knowledge of human nature confirms Mr. Valentine's judgment. He is right. Let me introduce Miss Dorothy Clarendon, commonly called Dolly. I'm Philip Clarendon. We're from Madeira, but perfectly respectable so far.
Clarendon? Are you related?
Yes, we are.
I beg your pardon?
Oh, we are. It's all over, Phil. They know all about us in England. Oh, Mr. Valentine, you can't think how maddening it is to be related to a celebrated person and never be valued anywhere for one's own sake.
Oh, excuse me, the gentleman I was thinking of was not celebrated.
Gentleman?
Yes. I was going to ask whether you were by any chance a daughter of Mr. Densmore Clarendon of Newbury Hall.
No.
Well, come, Dolly. How do you know you're not?
Oh, I forgot, of course. Perhaps I am.
Don't you know?
Not in the least.
It's a wise child.
The fact is, Mr. Valentine, we are the children of the celebrated Mrs. Lanfrey Clarendon, an authoress of great repute in Madeira. No household is complete without her works. We came to England to get away from them. They're called the 20th century treatises.
20th century cooking.
20th century creed.
20th century clothing.
20th century conduct.
20th century children.
20th century parents.
Cloth limp, $50.
Or mounted on linen for hard family use, $2. No family should be without them. Read them, Mr. Valentine. They'll improve your mind.
But not till we've gone, please.
Quite so. We prefer people with unimproved minds. Our own minds are in that fresh and unspoiled condition.
Phil, he prefers people whose minds are improved.
Well, in that case, we shall have to introduce him to the other member of the family. The woman of the 20th century, our sister Gloria.
Nature's masterpiece.
Learning's daughter.
Madeira's pride.
Beauty's paragon.
Bosh. No complexion.
May I have a word?
Excuse me, go ahead.
So sorry.
I really must give a hint to you young people.
Oh, come. I like that. How old are you?
Over 30.
He's not.
He is.
27.
33.
Stuff.
I appeal to you, Mr. Valentine.
Well, really, 31.
You were wrong.
So are you.
We're forgetting our manners, Dolly.
Yes, so we are.
We interrupted you, Mr. Valentine.
You were going to improve our minds, I think.
The fact is, your...
Our appearance.
Oh, do let me speak.
The old story. We talk too much.
We do. Shut up, both.
Mum.
Thank you. Now, may I ask to begin with, have you ever been in an English seaside resort before?
No.
No.
I thought so. Well, in a seaside resort, there is one thing you must have before anybody can afford to be seen going about with you. And that's a father, alive or dead. Am I to infer that you have omitted that indispensable part of your social equipment?
I'm afraid...
We have.
Then I'm sorry to say that if you're going to stay here for any length of time, it will be impossible for me to accept your kind invitation to lunch.
Come, Dolly.
Good morning.
Oh, stop. You make me feel a perfect beast.
That's your conscience, not us.
My conscience? My conscience has been my ruin. Listen to me. Twice before, I have set up as a respectable medical practitioner in various parts of England. On both occasions, I acted conscientiously and told my patients the brute truth instead of what they wanted to be told. Result, ruin. Now I've set up as a dentist, a 5-shilling dentist, and I've done with conscience forever. This is my last chance. I spent my last sovereign on moving in, and I haven't paid a shilling of rent yet. I'm eating and drinking on credit. My landlord is as rich as a Jew and as hard as nails, and I've made 5 shillings in 6 weeks. If I swerve by a hair's breadth from the straight line of the most rigid respectability, I'm done for. But under such circumstances, is it fair to ask me to lunch with you when you don't know your own father?
Well, after all, our grandfather is a canon of Lincoln Cathedral.
What? Have you a grandfather?
Only one.
Oh, my dear, good young friends. Why on earth didn't you tell me that before? A canon of Lincoln. That makes it all right, of course. Just excuse me while I change my coat.
That wretched, bankrupt ivory snatcher makes a compliment of allowing us to stand him a lunch. Probably the first square meal he's had for months.
Too beastly. I won't stand it any longer, Phil. Here in England, everybody asks whether you have a father, the very first thing.
I won't stand it either. Mamma must tell us who he was.
2 ladies for you, miss. Your mother and sister, miss, I think.
Well, children, how is the toothache, Dolly?
Cured, thank heaven. I've had it out.
And the dentist, a first-rate professional man of the highest standing, is coming to lunch with us.
Phil? Beg pardon, ma'am. I'm waiting for Mr. Valentine. I have a message for him. Who from? Dolly. Only the landlord, ma'am.
Let me introduce you, Mr. Valentine. My mother, Mrs. Lanfrey Clarendon.
How do you do?
My sister, Gloria.
Oh. How do you do?
How do you do? I understand that we are to have the pleasure of seeing you at luncheon today, Mr. Valentine.
Thank you. If you don't mind. I mean, if you'll be so kind. What is it?
The landlord, sir, wishes to speak to you before you go out.
Oh. Tell him I have 4 patients here. If he wouldn't mind waiting just 2 minutes, I'll slip down and see him for a moment. Say I'm busy, but that I want to see him.
Yes, sir, I will, sir.
We are detaining you, I'm afraid.
Not at all, not at all. Your presence here will be the greatest help to me.
The fact is, I owe 6 weeks' rent, and I've had no patience until today. My interview with my landlord will be considerably smoothed by the apparent boom in my business.
Oh, how tiresome of you to let it all out. And we've just been pretending that you were a respectable professional man in a first-rate position.
Oh, Dolly, my dearest, how can you be so rude? Will you excuse these barbarian children of mine, Mr. Valentine?
Not at all. I'm used to them. Would it be too much to ask you to wait 5 minutes while I get rid of my landlord downstairs?
Oh, don't be long. We're hungry.
Dolly, dear.
All right, thank you. I shan't be long. Yes. Thank you.
Did you observe? Love at first sight. You can add his scalp to your collection, Gloria.
What nonsense you do talk.
Shh, pray, Phil, he may have heard you.
Oh, not me. And now look here, Mamma. Dolly and I have been talking over things a good deal lately, and there are certain matters upon which we are beginning to feel that you might take us a little more into your confidence.
Phil, take care. I never ask you questions about your private concerns. You are not going to question me, are you?
I think it due to ourselves to say that the question we wanted to ask is as much our business as yours.
Besides, it can't be good to keep a lot of questions bottled up inside you. You did it, Mamma. But see how awfully it's broken out again in me.
I see you want to ask your question. Ask it.
Well, it's a simple one. Now, when the ivory snatcher...
Phil.
Oh, dentist is an ugly word. The man of ivory and gold asked us whether we were the children of Mr. Densmore Clarendon of Newbury Hall. In pursuance of the precepts in your treatise on 20th century conduct and your repeated personal exhortations to us to curtail the number of unnecessary lies we tell, we replied, truthfully, that we didn't know.
Neither did we.
The result was that the gum architect made considerable difficulties about accepting our invitation to lunch, although I doubt if he has had anything but tea and bread and butter for a fortnight past. Now, my knowledge of human nature leads me to believe that we had a father, and that you probably know who he was.
Stop, Phil. Your father is nothing to you nor to me. That is enough.
Mother, we have a right to know.
Gloria.
We. Who is we? We three.
In your mouth, we used to mean you and I, Gloria.
We're hurting you. Let's drop it. We didn't think you'd mind. I don't want to know.
I'm sure I don't. Oh, don't look like that, Mamma.
Thank you, my dear. Thank you, Phil.
We have a right to know, Mother.
Ah, you insist.
Do you intend that we shall never know? Oh, Gloria, don't. It's barbarous.
What's the use of being weak? You see what has happened with this gentleman here, Mother. The same thing has happened to me.
What do you mean? To you?
Oh, nothing of any consequence. On board the steamer, the first officer did me the honor to propose to me.
No, it was to me.
The first officer? Are you serious, Gloria? What did you say to him? Oh, excuse me, I have no right to ask that.
The answer is pretty obvious. A woman who does not know who her father was cannot accept such an offer.
Well, surely you did not want to accept it.
No, but suppose I had wanted to.
Did that difficulty strike you, Dolly?
No, I accepted him.
Oh, I say.
He did look such a fool.
But why did you do such a thing, Dolly?
For fun, I suppose. He had to measure my finger for a ring. Oh, you'd have done the same thing yourself.
No, Dolly, I would not. As a matter of fact, the first officer did propose to me. And I told him to keep that sort of thing for women who were young enough to be amused by it. He appears to have acted on my advice. Gloria, I'm sorry you think me weak, but I cannot tell you what you want. You are all too young.
Well, this is rather a startling departure from 20th century principles.
Answer all your children's questions and answer them truthfully as soon as they are old enough to ask them. See 20th Century Motherhood.
Page 1.
Chapter 1.
Sentence 1.
My dears, I did not say that you were too young to know. I said you were too young to be taken into my confidence. You're very bright children, all of you. And I'm glad for your sakes that you're still very inexperienced and consequently very unsympathetic. There are some experiences of mine that I cannot bear to speak of except to those who have gone through what I have gone through. I hope you will never be qualified for such confidences. But I will take care that you shall learn all you want to know. Will that satisfy you?
Another grievance, Dolly.
We're not sympathetic.
Mother, I did not mean to be unsympathetic.
Of course not, dear. Do you think I don't understand?
But, Mother...
Yes?
It is nonsense to tell us that our father is nothing to us.
Do you remember your father?
I am not quite sure. I think so.
You are not sure?
No.
Gloria, if I had ever struck you... struck you purposely, deliberately, with the intention of hurting you with a whip bought for the purpose. Would you remember that, do you think?
Mother.
That would have been your last recollection of your father, Gloria, if I had not taken you away from him. I've kept him out of your life. Keep him now out of mine by never mentioning him to me again.
I hope I've not kept you waiting. That landlord of mine is really an extraordinary old character. He doesn't want his rent at all. He's broken his tooth on a Brazil nut, and he wants me to look at it and to lunch with him afterwards.
Then have him up and pull his tooth out at once, and we'll bring him to lunch too. Tell the maid to fetch him along. I suppose he's respectable. Really respectable.
Perfectly. Not like me.
Honest Injun.
Honest Injun.
Then off with you, and bring him up.
Well, I dare say he'd be delighted if...
Oh, I should be happy to see your friend at lunch if you can persuade him to come. But I can't wait to see him now. I have an appointment at the hotel at 1:45 with an old friend whom I've not seen since I left England 18 years ago. Will you excuse me?
Certainly, Mrs. Clarendon. I will see you to the front door.
Shall I come? No, dear. I want to be alone. Thank you, Mr. Valentine.
Aha. You rang, sir? Show the old gentleman up. Madam? The old gentleman with the toothache.
The landlord.
Mr. Crampton, sir.
Is his name Crampton?
Show Mr. Crampton's up. Mr. Crampton, miss. Crampton. Crampton. I must get that name right, or heaven knows what I shall call him.
But hark, he comes.
Who? Talkstone.
Shh. Attention. If he's good enough for the lunch, Gloria, I'll nod to Dolly. And if she nods to you, invite him straight away.
May I introduce you? This is Mr. Crampton, Miss Dorothy Clarendon, Mr. Philip Clarendon, Mrs. Clarendon. Sit down, Mr. Crampton.
That is the most comfortable chair, Mr. Crampton.
Thank you. But, won't this young lady...
Thank you, Mr. Crampton. We are just going.
Oh, sit down. You're tired.
Well, perhaps as I am considerably the oldest person present,
Mr. Crampton, we understand that we are preventing Mr. Valentine from lunching with you by taking him away ourselves. My mother would be very glad indeed if you would come too.
Thank you. I will come with pleasure.
How old are you, Mr. Crampton?
I am afraid we must be going, Mr. Valentine. It is understood, then, that we meet at 1:30.
1:30. Allow me to see you to the door. Are you coming too, Mr. Clarendon?
Yes, I will. Dolly?
In a minute. Make him give you gas. It's 5 shillings extra, but it's worth it.
Very well. See, you want to know my age, do you? I'm 57.
You look it.
Dare say I do.
What are you looking at me so hard for? Anything wrong? Is it my hat?
You're like somebody.
Who?
Well, you have a curious look of my mother.
Your mother? You're quite sure you don't mean your daughter?
Yes, I'm quite sure I don't mean my daughter.
Oh, tooth bad.
No, nothing. Twinge of memory, Miss Clarendon, not of toothache.
Have it out. Pluck from the memory a rooted sorrow with gas 5 shillings extra.
No, not a sorrow. An injury that was done me once, that's all. I don't forget injuries. I don't want to forget them.
I don't think we shall like you when you're brooding over your injuries.
Dolly, my sister means well, Mr. Crampton, but she's indiscreet. Now, Dolly, outside.
He says he's only 57 and he thinks me the image of his mother and he hates his daughter.
Miss Clarendon has gone on.
And don't forget, 1:30.
Now, mind you leave Mr. Crampton enough teeth to eat with.
That's a spoiled child, Mr. Valentine. That's one of your modern products. When I was her age, I had many a good hiding fresh in my memory to teach me manners.
What did you think of her sister?
You liked her better,
Oh,
eh?
she struck me as being... However, that's not business. Open, please. You have broken that one. What a pity to spoil such a splendid set of teeth. Why do you crack nuts with them?
I've always cracked nuts with them. What else are they for? The proper way to keep teeth good is to give them plenty of use on bones and nuts and wash them every day with soap. Plain yellow soap.
Soap? Why soap?
I began using it as a boy because I was made to. I've used it ever since. I never had toothache in my life.
Well, your teeth are good, I admit, but I've seen just as good in very self-indulgent mouths.
That's not the effect on the teeth, it's the effect on the character.
Oh, the character, I see. A little wider, please. That one will have to come out. It's fast saving. Don't be alarmed. You shan't feel anything. I'll give you gas.
Rubbish, man. I want none of your gas. Out with it. People were taught to bear necessary pain in my day.
Oh, if you like being hurt, all right. I'll hurt you as much as you like, without any extra charge for the beneficial effect on your character.
Young man, you owe me 6 weeks' rent.
I do.
Can you pay me?
No.
I thought not. How soon do you think you'll be able to pay me, if you have no better manners than to make game of your patients?
No, my good sir, my patients haven't all formed their characters on kitchen soap.
So much the worse for them. I tell you, you don't understand my character. If I could spare all my teeth, I'd make you pull them out, one after another, to show you what a properly hardened man can go through with when he's made up his mind to it.
And you want to be more hardened, do you?
Yes.
Why did you never get married, Mr. Crampton? A wife and children would have taken some of the hardness out of you.
What the devil is that to you?
Well, I've an idea of getting married myself.
Naturally, sir. Naturally, when a young man has come to his last farthing and is within 24 hours of having his furniture distrained upon by his landlord, he marries. I've noticed that before. Well, marry and be miserable.
Oh, come, what do you know about it?
I'm not a bachelor.
Then there is a Mrs. Crampton.
Yes, damn her.
A father too, perhaps, as well as a husband, Mr. Crampton.
3 children.
Damn them, eh?
No, sir. The children are as much mine as hers.
I should really like to know your family, Mr. Crampton.
Sorry I can't introduce you. I'm happy to say that I don't know where they are and don't care, so long as they keep out of my way. What's that cylinder thing for?
Oh, never mind. It's something to put my foot on to get the necessary purchase for a good pull. And so you advise me not to get married, Mr. Crampton?
I advise you to get my tooth out and have done reminding me of my wife. Come along, man.
What do you bet that I don't get that tooth out without your feeling it?
Your 6 weeks' rent, young man. Don't you gammon me.
Done. Are you ready?
Take care, man. I'm quite helpless in this position.
You'll be more helpless presently.
Waiter.
Sir.
Are you quite sure Mrs. Clarendon is coming back before lunch?
Quite sure, sir. She expects you at 1:45, sir. Not that yet, sir, is it? 12:43, sir. Only 2 minutes more to wait, sir. Nice morning, sir.
Yes. Very fresh after London.
Yes, sir. So all our visitors say, sir.
We shall have 2 more gentlemen to lunch, William.
Right, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am.
Are you Finch McComas?
Can't you guess?
I believe you are. Where's your beard?
Would you employ a solicitor with a beard?
Is that silk hat yours?
Would you employ a solicitor with a sombrero?
Oh, I've thought of you all these 18 years with the beard and the sombrero. Do you go to the meetings of the Dialectical Society still?
I do not frequent meetings now.
Finch, I see what has happened. You have become respectable.
Haven't you?
Not a bit.
You hold to your old opinions still?
As firmly as ever.
Bless me. Why have you made me come down here?
Well, partly because I wanted to see you.
Thanks.
And partly because I want you to explain everything to the children. They know nothing. And now that we've come back to England, it is impossible to leave them in ignorance any longer. Finch, I cannot bring myself to tell them.
It's all right, Mamma. The dentist is coming and he's bringing his old man.
Dolly, dear, don't you see Mr. McComas?
This? But where are the flowing locks?
Where's the beard? The cloak? The poetic exterior?
Oh, Mr. McComas, you've gone and spoiled yourself. Why didn't you wait till we'd seen you?
Because 18 years is too long for a solicitor to go without having his hair cut.
How do you do, Mr. McComas? We are glad to meet you at last.
Miss Gloria, I presume? And this young gentleman is Master Philip.
Well, I was Master Philip. I was so for many years, just as you were once Master Finch. How strange it is to look back on our boyhood.
Has Finch had a drink?
Really?
Dearest, Mr. McComas will lunch with us.
Have you ordered for 7? Don't forget the old gentleman.
I have not forgotten him, dear. What is his name?
Chalkstones. He'll be here at 1:30. Are we like what you expected, Mr. McComas?
Dolly, Mr. McComas has something more serious than that to tell you. Children, I have asked my old friend to answer the question you asked me this morning. He is your father's friend as well as mine, and he will tell you the story of my married life more fairly than I could. Gloria, are you satisfied?
Mr. McComas is very kind.
Oh, not at all, my dear young lady, not at all. At the same time, this is rather sudden. I was hardly prepared.
Oh, we don't want anything prepared.
Tell us the truth.
Bald-headed.
I hope you intend to take what I have to say seriously.
Well, I hope it will deserve it, Mr. McComas. My knowledge of human nature teaches me not to expect too much.
Phil.
Yes, Mother. All right. I beg your pardon, Mr. McComas. Don't mind us.
We mean well.
Shut up, both.
Now, your father...
How old is he?
Dear Dolly, don't let us interrupt Mr. McComas.
Thank you, Mrs. Clarendon. Thank you. Your father is 57.
57? Where does he live?
Dolly.
Let me answer that, Mrs. Clarendon. The answer will surprise you considerably. He lives in this town.
I knew it. Phil! Chalkstones! He's our father!
Chalkstones?
Oh, Crampstones, or whatever it is. He said I was like his mother. I knew he must mean his daughter.
Mr. McComas, I desire to consider your feelings in every possible way, but I warn you that if you stretch the long arm of coincidence to the length of telling me that Mr. Crampton of this town is my father, I shall decline to entertain the information for a moment.
And pray why?
Because I've seen this gentleman, and he's entirely unfit to be my father, or Dolly's father, or Gloria's father, or my mother's husband.
Oh, indeed. Well, sir, let me tell you that whether you like it or not, he is your father, and your sister's father, and Mrs. Clarendon's husband. Now, what have you to say to that?
You needn't be so cross. Crampton isn't your father.
Mr. McComas, your conduct is heartless. Here you find a family enjoying the unspeakable peace and freedom of being orphans. We have never seen the face of a relative, never known a claim except the claim of freely chosen friendship. And now, you wish to thrust into the most intimate relationship with us a man whom we don't know.
An awful old man. And you began as if you had quite a nice father for us.
And how do you know that he's not nice? And what right have you to choose your own father? Let me tell you, Miss Clarendon, that you're too young to...
Stop! I forgot. Has he any money?
Oh, he has a great deal of money.
Oh, what did I always say, Phil?
Dolly, we have perhaps been condemning the old man too hastily. Proceed, Mr. McComas.
I shall not proceed, sir. I'm too hurt, too shocked to proceed.
Finch, do you realize what is happening? Do you understand that my children have invited that man to lunch, and that he will be here in a few moments?
What? Do you mean, am I to understand? Is it...
Steady, Finch. I think it out slowly and carefully. Oh, he's coming to lunch.
Which of us is to tell him the truth? Have you thought of that?
Finch, you must tell him.
Oh, Finch is no good at telling things. Look at the mess he's made telling us.
I've not been allowed to speak. I protest against this.
Oh, dear Finch, never be cross.
Gloria, let us go in. He may arrive at any moment.
Do not stir, Mother. I shall not stir. We must not run away.
My dear, we cannot sit down to lunch just as we are. We shall come back again. We must have no bravado. Come, Gloria.
Gentlemen, come yet, ma'am.
Two more to come still, thank you. They will be here immediately.
I have an idea. Mr. McComas, this communication should be made, should it not, by a man of infinite tact.
Well, it will require tact, certainly.
Good. Now, Dolly, whose tact were you noticing only this morning?
Oh, yes, I declare. William.
The very man. William! Coming, sir.
The waiter? Stop. I will not permit this.
Yes, sir. William, you remember my request to you to regard me as your son?
Yes, sir. Anything you please, sir.
William, at the very outset of your career as my father, a rival has appeared on the scene.
Your real father, sir? Well, that was to be expected, sooner or later, sir, wasn't it? Is it you, sir? Certainly not. My children know how to behave themselves.
Oh, no, William. This gentleman was very nearly my father. He wooed my mother, but wooed her in vain.
Well, of all this...
Consequently, he's only our solicitor. Do you know one Crampton of this town?
Cock-eyed Crampton, sir, of the Crooked Billet, is it?
I don't know. Finch, does he keep a public house?
No. Your father, sir, is a well-known yacht builder, an eminent man here.
Oh, beg pardon, sir, I'm sure. Son of Mr. Crampton. Dear me.
Mr. Crampton is coming to lunch with us.
Yes, sir. Don't usually lunch with this family, perhaps, sir?
William, he does not know that we are his family. He's not seen us for 18 years. He won't know us.
We want you to break the news to him, William.
But I should think he'd guess when he sees your mother, miss.
I never thought of that.
Nor I. Nor you, Finch.
And you a solicitor.
Finch, your professional incompetence is appalling. William, your sagacity puts us all to shame.
You really are like Shakespeare, William.
Not at all, sir. Don't mention it, miss. Most happy, I'm sure, sir. Finch, come and wash your hands.
I'm thoroughly vexed and hurt, Mr. Clandon.
You'll get used to us. Come, Dolly.
And keep your wits about you, William.
Oh.
There will be fireworks.
Right, miss. You may depend upon me, miss.
The steps made me giddy. Not got over that infernal gas yet.
Waiter. Yes, sir. Mrs. Lanfrey Clandon. Yes, sir. We're expecting you, sir. That is your table, sir. Mrs. Clandon will be down presently, sir. The young lady and gentleman were just talking about your friend, sir.
Indeed?
Yes, sir. Great flow of spirit, sir. A vein of pleasantry, as you might say, sir. The young gentleman's latest is that you're his father, sir.
What?
Only his joke, sir. His favourite joke. Yesterday, I was to be his father. Today, as soon as he knew you were coming, sir, he tried to put it up on me that you were his father, his long-lost father. Not seen you for 18 years, he said.
18 years?
Yes, sir. But I was up to his trick, sir. I saw the idea coming into his head as he stood there, thinking what new joke he'd have with me. Yes, sir. That's the sort he is. Very pleasant, very offhand and affable indeed, sir. Even the solicitor took up the joke. Yes, sir, I assure you, sir. You would never imagine what respectable professional gentlemen from London will do on an outing when the sea air takes them, sir.
Oh, there's a solicitor with them, is there?
The family solicitor, sir. Yes, sir. Name of McComas, sir.
McComas? Valentine, this is a plot, a conspiracy. This is my family. My children. My infernal wife.
Oh, indeed. Interesting meeting.
Meeting? Not for me. Let me out of this. Give me that coat.
Yes, sir. I seem to have done the young gentleman injustice. I have...
Valentine, you're in this. You made this plot. You... Bosh. What do you mean? How dare you...
Steady, sir. Here they come, sir.
So here you are, Mr. Crampton.
Yes, here. Caught in a trap. A mean trap. Are those my children?
Is this our father, Mr. McComas?
Yes,
Pleased to meet you again.
Allow me to discharge my first duty as host by ordering your wine. Finch, some crusted old port for you as a respectable family solicitor.
Apollinaris only. I prefer to take nothing heating.
Valentine?
Would lager be considered vulgar?
Probably. We'll order some. Dolly takes it. And now, Mr. Crampton, what can we do for you?
What do you mean, boy?
Boy? Whose fault is it that I'm a boy?
The whiskey's on the last page but one, Mr. Crampton.
Let me alone, child.
Child? No. You may call me Dolly if you like, but you mustn't call me child.
McComas, we're going to have a pleasant meal.
Mother and our sister Gloria.
Glad to see you again, Mr. Valentine.
Miss Clandon?
Fergus, you are greatly changed.
I dare say. Man does change in 18 years.
I did not mean that. I hope your health is good.
Thank you. No, it's not my health. It's my happiness that's the change you meant, I think. Look at her, McComas. Look at her. And look at me.
Order before William.
I think you have all met one another already today. Oh, no, excuse me, Mr. Valentine, Mr. McComas.
How do you do?
How do you do?
Fergus, will you take the head of the table, please?
The head of the table.
This end, sir. Thank you, sir.
Mr. Valentine, will you take that side with Gloria?
Thank you.
Finch, I must put you on this side between Dolly and Phil. You must protect yourself as best you can.
Thank you. Thick or clear, sir?
Does nobody ask a blessing in this household?
Let us first settle what we're about to receive. William.
Yes, sir.
2 small lagers for the children, as usual, William, and 1 large for this gentleman. A large Apollinaris for Mr. McComas.
Yes, sir.
Have a 6 of Irish in it, Finch.
No, thank you.
Number 413 for my mother and Miss Gloria as before. And,
All right, sir. We know what Mr. Crampton likes here, sir.
Oh, you frequent bars. Bad habit.
You've learnt your lesson from your mother, I see.
Phil, will you please remember that your jokes are apt to irritate people who are not accustomed to us, and that your father is our guest today.
Yes, a guest at the head of my own table.
Yes, it's embarrassing, isn't it? It's just as bad for us, you know.
Shh, Dolly. We are both wanting in tact. We mean well, Mr. Crampton, but we're not yet strong in the filial line. William, come and restore good feeling.
Yes, sir. Certainly, sir. Small lager for you, sir. Seltzer and Irish, sir. Apollinaris, sir. Small lager, miss. 413, madam. Large lager for you, sir. 413, miss.
To the family.
Hearth and home.
Oh, we're getting on very nicely after all.
After all? After all what, Finch?
She means that you're getting on very nicely in spite of the presence of your father. Do I take your point rightly, McComas?
No, I only said after all to round off the sentence.
Turbot, sir.
Oh, thank you, waiter. Thank you.
Don't mention it, sir.
Have you thought of choosing a profession yet?
Well, I'm keeping my mind open on that subject. William.
Yes, sir.
How long do you think it would take me to learn to be a really smart waiter?
Can't be learned, sir. It's in the character, sir. Bread for the lady, sir?
Thank you.
Yes, sir. Very few are born to it, sir.
You don't happen to have such a thing as a son yourself, have you?
Yes, sir. Oh, yes, sir.
Is your son a waiter too, William?
Oh, no, miss. He's too impetuous. He's at the bar.
Oh, a pupman, eh?
No, sir. The other bar. Your profession, sir. A QC, sir.
Well, I'm sure I beg your pardon.
Not at all, sir. Very natural mistake, I'm sure, sir. I've often wished he was a potman, sir. Would have been off my hands ever so much sooner, sir. Salt at your elbow, sir. Yes, sir. Had to support him till he was 37, sir. But doing well now, sir. Very satisfactory indeed, sir. Nothing less than 50 guineas, sir.
Democracy, Crampton. Modern democracy.
No, sir. Not democracy. Only education, sir. Scholarship, sir. Cambridge local, sir. Sydney Sussex College, sir. Very good thing for him, sir. He never had any turn for real work, sir. Stone ginger, miss. Right, miss.
Which of us dare give that man an order again?
I hope he won't mind my sending him for ginger beer.
Well, he's a waiter. It's his business to wait. If you treated him as a waiter ought to be treated, he'd have held his tongue.
And what a loss that would have been. Perhaps he'll give us an introduction to his son and get us into London society.
London society? You're not fit for any society, child.
Now, look here, Mr. Crampton, if you think...
Stone ginger, miss.
Thank you, dear William. You were just in time.
Cheese, sir. Would you like a cold sweet?
What? Oh, cheese.
Bring a box of cigarettes, William.
All ready, miss.
Does she smoke?
Really, Mr. Crampton? I'm afraid I'm spoiling your lunch. I'll go and have my cigarette on the beach.
Margaret, call that girl back. Call her back, I say.
Oh, come, Crampton, never mind. She's her father's daughter, that's all.
I hope not, Finch. Mr. Valentine, will you excuse me? I'm afraid Dolly is hurt and put out by what has passed. I must go to her.
To take her part against me, you mean?
Gloria, will you take my place while I'm away, dear?
Yes,
Young lady forgot the matches, ma'am, if you will be so good, ma'am.
Thank you very much.
There's a mother for you, McComas. There's a mother for you.
Yes, a good mother.
And a bad father. That's what you mean, eh?
Miss Clandon.
That girl's name is Crampton, Mr. Valentine, not Clandon. Do you wish to join them in insulting me?
I'm overwhelmed, Miss Clandon. It's all my fault. I brought him here, I am responsible for him, and I'm ashamed of him.
What do you mean?
No harm has been done, Mr. Valentine. We have all been a little childish, I'm afraid. Our party has been a failure. Let us break it up and have done with it. Goodbye, Father.
Father! No!
This coat is yours, sir, I think so. The lady's sunshade, sir. Nasty glare off the sea today, sir. Very trying to the complexion, sir. I shall carry down the camp stools myself, sir.
You are old, Father William, but you are the most considerate of men. No. Keep the sunshades and give me the camp stools.
Thank you, sir.
Finch, share with me. Come along.
Oh, all right.
Leave me something to bring down. One of these sunshades, perhaps.
Oh, that's the younger lady, sir.
Oh.
Thank you, sir. If you'll allow me, sir, I think you had better have this. The elder young lady is reading it at present. Thank you, sir. Schopenhauer, sir, you see. A very interesting author, sir. Especially on the subject of ladies, sir.
Now, look here, Crampton. Are you at all ashamed of yourself?
Ashamed of myself? What for?
For behaving like a bear. What will your daughter think of me for having brought you here?
I was not thinking of what my daughter was thinking of you.
No, you were thinking of yourself. You're a perfect egomaniac.
She told you what I am. A father. A father robbed of his children. What are the hearts of this generation like? Am I to come here after all these years to see what my children are for the first time, to hear their voices and carry it all off like a fashionable visitor? Drop in to lunch, be Mr. Crampton? Mr. Crampton! What right have they to talk to me like that? I'm their father. Do they deny that? I'm a man with the feelings of our common humanity. Have I no rights, no claims? In all these years, who have I had round me? Servants, clerks, business acquaintances. I've had respect from them. Aye, kindness. With one of them have spoken to me as that girl spoke. With one of them have laughed at me as that boy was laughing at me all the time. My own children. Mr. Crampton, my...
Calm, they're only children. The only one of them that's worth anything called you father.
Yes, goodbye, father. Goodbye. Oh, yes, she got at my feelings with a stab.
Now, look here, Crampton. You just let her alone. She's treated you very well. I had a much worse time of it at lunch than you.
You?
Yes, I. I sat next to her, and I never said a single thing to her the whole time. I couldn't think of a blessed word. And not a word did she say to me. Well? Crampton, do you know what's been the matter with me today? You don't suppose, do you, that I'm in the habit of playing such tricks on my patients as I played on you?
I hope not.
The explanation is that I'm stark mad. Or rather, that I've never been in any real sense in my own senses before. I'm capable of anything. I've grown up at last. I'm a man. And it's your daughter, Gloria Clarendon, that's made a man of me.
Are you in love with my daughter?
Love? Nonsense. It's something far above and beyond that. It's life, it's faith, it's strength, certainty, paradise.
Rubbish, man. What have you got to keep a wife on? You can't marry her.
Who wants to marry her? I'll kiss her hands, I'll kneel at her feet, I'll live for her, I'll die for her, and that'll be enough for me. Look at her book, see? If you offered me all your money for this excuse for going down to the beach and speaking to her again, I'd only laugh at you. Oh!
Steady, sir. Steady.
I beg your pardon.
Not at all, sir. Not at all. Very natural, sir. I'm sure, sir, at your age. The lady has sent me for her book, sir. Might I take the liberty of asking you to let her have it at once, sir?
With pleasure. And if you will allow me to present you with a professional man's earnings for 6 weeks.
Thank you, sir. Much obliged.
Miss Clarendon! Miss Clarendon! How could that man have so beautiful a daughter?
That seems to be an attempt at what is called a pretty speech. Let me say at once, Mr. Valentine, that pretty speeches make very sickly conversation. Pray let us be friends, if we are to be friends, in a sensible and wholesome way. I have no intention of getting married, and unless you are content to accept that state of things, we had much better not cultivate each other's acquaintance.
You are strong. Do you know that you changed the world for me this morning? I was in the dumps, thinking of my unpaid rent, frightened about the future. When you came in, I was dazzled. Well, that was silly, of course, but really and truly something happened to me. Explain it how you will. My blood got oxygenated. My muscles braced. My mind cleared. My courage rose. That's odd, isn't it, considering that I'm not at all a sentimental man?
Let us go back to the terrace.
Oh, Miss Clarendon, how could you?
What have I done?
Thrown this enchantment on me. I'm honestly trying to be sensible, scientific, everything that you wish me to be, but oh, don't you see what you've set to work in my imagination?
I hope you are not going to be so foolish, so vulgar as to say love.
No, not love. We know better than that. Let's call it chemistry. You can't deny there is such a thing as chemical action, chemical affinity, chemical combination, the most irresistible of all natural forces. Well, you are attracting me irresistibly, chemically.
Nonsense.
Of course it's nonsense, you stupid girl. Yes, stupid girl. That's a scientific fact, anyhow. You're a prig. A feminine prig, that's what you are. And now I suppose you've done with me forever.
Well, that shows how very little you understand my real character. I am not in the least offended. I am always willing to be told my own defects, Mr. Valentine, by my friends, even when they are as absurdly mistaken about me as you are. I have many faults, very serious faults of character and temper. But if there is one thing that I am not, it is what you call a prig.
Oh, yes, you are. My reason tells me so. My knowledge tells me so. My experience tells me so.
Excuse my reminding you that your reason and your knowledge and your experience are not infallible. At least I hope not.
I must believe them. Unless you wish me to believe my eyes, my heart, my instincts, my imagination, which are all telling me the most monstrous lies about you.
Lies?
Yes, lies. Do you expect me to believe that you are the most beautiful woman in the world?
That is ridiculous and rather personal.
Of course it's ridiculous. But that's what my eyes tell me. No, I am not flattering. I tell you, I don't believe it. Do you think that if you were to turn away in disgust from my weakness, I should sit down here and cry like a child?
Why should you pray?
But of course not. I'm not such an idiot. And yet my heart tells me I should, my fool of a heart. But I'll argue with my heart and bring it to reason. If I loved you 1,000 times, I'll force myself to look the truth steadily in the face. After all, it's easy to be sensible. The facts are the facts. What's this place? It's not heaven, it's the Marine Hotel. What's the time? It's not eternity. It's about 1:30 in the afternoon. What am I? A dentist. A 5-shilling dentist.
And I am a feminine prig.
No, I can't face that. I must have one illusion left. The illusion about you. I love you.
Please.
No, what a fool I am, an idiot. You don't understand. I might as well talk to the stones on the beach.
I am sorry. I do not mean to be unsympathetic, Mr. Valentine. But what can I say?
You can say nothing, Miss Clarendon. I beg your pardon. It was my own fault, or rather my own bad luck. You see, it all depended on your naturally liking me. Oh, but I know you mustn't tell me whether you like me or not, but...
Must not? Why not? I am a free woman. Why should I not tell you?
Don't. I'm afraid to hear.
You need not be afraid. I think you are sentimental and a little foolish. But I like you.
Then it's all over.
But why?
Oh, don't pity me. Your voice is tearing my heart to pieces. Let me alone, Gloria. You go down into the very depths of me, troubling and stirring me. I can't struggle with it. I can't tell you.
Oh, stop telling me what you feel. I can't bear it.
It's come at last. My moment of courage. Our moment of courage. Now you've done it, Gloria. It's all over. We're in love with one another. But what a dragon you were, and how hideously afraid I was.
Valentine! Valentine!
Goodbye. Forgive me.
The children want you, Mr. Valentine. Why is he running off?
Mother!
What is it, dear?
Why didn't you educate me properly?
Child, I did my best.
Oh, you taught me nothing. Nothing.
What is the matter with you?
Only shame. Shame. Shame.
Tea was what you rang for, Mom, I hope.
Thank you, yes.
I thought so, Mom. Curious how the nerves seem to give out in the afternoon without a cup of tea. The young lady and gentleman have just come back, Ma'am. They have been out in a boat, Ma'am. Mr. McComas will not come to tea, Ma'am. He has gone to call upon Mr. Crampton.
And the other gentleman?
Oh, he's coming, miss, he's coming. He has been rowing in the boat, miss, and has just run down the road to the chemist for something to put on the blisters. But he will be here directly, miss, directly.
Gloria, where are you going?
I think you must excuse me, Mother.
Anything more, Ma?
Nothing, thank you.
Thank you, Ma'am. Here is Mr. Philip and Miss Dolly, Ma'am.
Oh, well, give me some tea. We've been out in a boat. Valentine will be here presently.
He's unaccustomed to navigation. Where's Gloria?
Phil, there's something the matter with Gloria. Has anything happened?
Romeo.
And Juliet.
Yes, my dear mother, the old story. Dolly, don't take all the milk. Yes, in the spring.
A young man's fancy.
Lightly turns to, thank you, thoughts of love. It also occurs in the autumn. The young man in this case is...
Valentine.
And his fancy has turned to Gloria, to the extent of...
Kissing her.
On the beach.
On the lips, before everybody.
Phil, Dolly, are you joking? Did she allow it?
We waited to see him struck to earth by the lightning of her scorn.
But he wasn't.
She appeared to like it.
As far as we could judge. No, you've sworn off 2 cups.
Children, you must not be here when Mr. Valentine comes. I must speak very seriously to him about this.
To ask him his intentions. Oh, what a violation of 20th century principles.
Quite right, Mamma. Bring him to book. Make the most of the 19th century while it lasts.
Shh, here he is. Very sorry to be late for tea, Mrs. Clarendon.
Will you...
No, thank you. I never take any. No doubt Miss Dolly and Phil have explained what happened to me.
Yes, Valentine, we've explained.
We have explained very thoroughly.
It was our duty. Come, Dolly.
Will you sit down, Mr. Valentine?
Thank you.
I want to speak to you a little, if you will allow me. I must begin by throwing myself somewhat on your consideration. I'm going to speak of a subject of which I know very little, perhaps nothing. I mean love.
Love?
Yes, love. Oh, you need not look so alarmed at that, Mr. Valentine. I am not in love with you.
Oh, really, Mrs... I should be only too proud if you were.
Oh, thank you, Mr. Valentine, but I'm too old to begin.
Begin? Have you never?
Never. My case is a very common one, Mr. Valentine. I married before I was old enough to know what I was doing. As you've seen for yourself, the result was a bitter disappointment for both my husband and myself. So you see, though I'm a married woman, I've never been in love. I've never had a love affair. And to be quite frank with you, Mr. Valentine, what I've seen of the love affairs of other people has not led me to regret that deficiency in my experience.
Well, what are you driving at, Mrs. Clandon?
I think you know.
Gloria?
Yes, Gloria.
Well, yes. I'm in love with Gloria. I know what you're going to say. I've no money.
I care very little about money, Mr. Valentine.
Then you're very different to all the other mothers who've interviewed me.
Ah, now we're coming to it, Mr. Valentine. You are an old hand at this.
Oh, no, really?
Do you think, little as I understand these matters, that I have not common sense enough to know that a man who could make as much way in one interview with such a woman as my daughter can hardly be a novice?
No, I assure you...
I'm not blaming you, Mr. Valentine. It is Gloria's business to take care of herself, and you have a right to amuse yourself as you please.
Amuse myself? Oh, Mrs. Clandon.
On your honor, Mr. Valentine, are you in earnest?
On my honor, I am in earnest.
Are you?
Only I always have been in earnest. And yet here I am, you see.
This is just what I suspected. Mr. Valentine, you are one of those men who play with women's affections.
Well, why not, if the cause of humanity is the only thing worth being serious about? However, I understand. You wish me to discontinue my visits?
No. I'm sensible enough to be well aware that Gloria's best chance of escape from you now is to become better acquainted with you.
Oh, don't say that, Mrs. Clandon. You don't think that, do you?
I have great faith, Mr. Valentine, in the sound training Gloria's mind has had since she was a child.
Oh, that's all right.
What do you mean?
Come, shall I teach you something, Mrs. Clandon?
I'm always willing to learn.
You've heard of the duel of sex, haven't you? Oh, I forgot you've been in Madeira. The expression has come up since your time. Need I explain it?
No.
Of course not. Now, what happens in the duel of sex? The old-fashioned daughter received an old-fashioned education to protect her against the wiles of man. Well, you know the result. The old-fashioned man got round her. The old-fashioned woman resolved to protect her daughter more effectually, to find some armor too strong for the old-fashioned man. So she gave her daughter a scientific education. Your plan... Ah, that was a corker for the old-fashioned man. He said it wasn't fair, unwomanly, and all the rest of it. But that didn't do him any good. So he had to give up his old-fashioned plan of attack. You know, going down on his knees and swearing to love, honor, and obey, and so on.
Excuse me. That was what the woman swore.
Was it? Oh, perhaps you're right. Yes, of course it was. Well, what did the man do? He went one better than the woman, educated himself scientifically, and beat her at that game just as he'd beaten her at the old game. I learned how to circumvent the women's rights woman before I was 23. It's all been found out long ago. You see, my methods are thoroughly modern.
No doubt.
But for that very reason, there is one sort of girl against whom they are of no use.
Pray, which sort?
The thoroughly old-fashioned girl. If you had brought up Gloria in the old way, it would have taken me 18 months to get to the point I got to this afternoon in 18 minutes. Yes, Mrs. Clandon, the higher education of women delivered Gloria into my hands, and it was you who taught her to believe in the higher education of women.
Mr. Valentine, you are very clever.
Oh, Mrs. Clandon.
And you have taught me nothing. Goodbye.
Mother, is what Dolly told me true?
What did she tell you, dear?
That you have been speaking about me to this gentleman.
This gentleman, oh?
Mr. Valentine, can you hold your tongue for a moment?
Mother, what right had you to do it?
I don't think I've said anything I have no right to say, Gloria.
Nothing whatever. I beg your pardon.
Mr. Valentine, you are a most dangerous man. Gloria, come here. Ask this man whom you have inspired and made brave, how many women have inspired him before? How many times he has laid the trap in which he has caught you? How much practice it has taken to make him perfect in his chosen part in life as the duelist of sex?
This isn't fair. You're abusing my confidence, Mrs. Clandon.
Ask him, Gloria.
Is that true?
Oh, don't be angry.
Is it true? Did you ever say that before? Did you ever feel that before for another woman?
Yes,
Oh!
Remember, a man's power of love and admiration is like any other of his powers. He has to throw it away many times before he learns what is really worthy of it.
Another of the old speeches, Gloria. Take care.
Oh.
Do you think I need to be warned now? You have tried to make me love you.
I have.
Well, you have succeeded in making me hate you passionately.
It's surprising how little difference there is between the two. I know men whose wives love them, and they're gone exactly like that.
Mr. McComas, ma'am.
Oh, certainly. Bring him in.
He wishes to see you in the reception room, ma'am.
Why not here?
Well, if you will forgive my mentioning it, ma'am, I think Mr. McComas feels that he would get fairer play if he could speak to you away from the younger members of your family, ma'am.
Tell him they are not here.
They are within sight of the door, ma'am, and very watchful for some reason or other.
Oh, very well. I'll go to him.
Thank you, ma'am. All right, sir. Only the tea things, sir. Excuse me, sir. Thank you, sir.
Look here, you will forgive me sooner or later. Forgive me now.
Never. While grass grows or water runs. Never, never, never.
Well, I don't care. I can't be unhappy about anything. I shall never be unhappy again. Never, 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 while grass grows or water runs. The thought of you will always make me wild with joy.
How often have
No, I've never said that before. That's new.
It will not be new when you say it to the next woman.
Oh, don't, Gloria, don't. I kneel at your feet.
Get up! Get up! How dare you!
I beg your pardon.
Come, Dolly. Mother will be back in a moment, Phil. Please wait here for her.
Ah, indeed.
Aha.
Here comes the solicitor, looking very grave.
What cheer, Finch?
Very serious news from your father, Miss Clarendon. Very serious news indeed.
Perhaps I had better go.
By no means, Mr. Valentine. You are deeply concerned in this. Mrs. Clarendon, your husband demands the custody of his younger children who are not of age.
Oh, how nice of him. He likes us, Mamma.
I'm sorry to have to disabuse you of any such idea, Miss Dorothea.
Oh, Dorothea.
No.
Dearest Dolly, the deed of separation gives me the custody of the children.
It also contains a covenant that you are not to approach or molest him in any way.
Well, I've done so.
Whether the behavior of your younger children amounts to legal molestation is a question on which it may be necessary to take counsel's opinion. At all events, Mr. Crampton not only claims to have been molested, but he believes that he was brought here by a plot in which Mr. Valentine acted as your agent.
What's that, eh?
He alleges that you drugged him, Mr. Valentine.
Oh, so I did.
But what did you do that for?
5 shillings extra.
I must really ask you, Miss Clarendon, not to interrupt this very serious conversation with irrelevant interjections. I insist on having earnest matters earnestly and reverently discussed. Miss Gloria, it is my duty to tell you that your father has also persuaded himself that Mr. Valentine wishes to marry you.
I do.
In that case, sir, you must not be surprised to find yourself regarded by the young lady's father as a fortune hunter.
So I am. Do you expect my wife to live on what I earn? 10 a week?
I've nothing more to say, sir. I shall return and tell Mr. Crampton that this family is no place for a father.
Finch! If Mr. Valentine cannot be serious, you can. Sit down.
Oh, well,
You know that all this is a made-up case, that Fergus doesn't believe in it any more than you do. Now, give me your real advice, your sincere, friendly advice. You know I've always trusted your judgment. I promise you the children will be quiet.
Well, what I want to say is this. In the old arrangement with your husband, Mrs. Clarendon, you had him at a terrible disadvantage. You were an advanced woman, accustomed to defy public opinion, and with no regard for what the world might say of you.
Yes, that is true.
On the other hand, Mrs. Clarendon, your husband had a great horror of anything getting into the papers. There was his business to be considered, as well as the prejudices of an old-fashioned family.
Not to mention his own prejudices.
Now, no doubt he behaved badly, Mrs. Clarendon.
I did not blame him. I simply rescued myself and the children from him.
Yes, but you made hard terms, Mrs. Clarendon. You had him at your mercy. You brought him to his knees when you threatened to make the matter public by applying to the courts for a judicial separation. Suppose he'd had that power over you,
and used it to take your children away from you and bring them up in ignorance of your very name, how would you feel? What would you do? Well, won't you make some allowance for his feelings? In common humanity.
I never discovered his feelings. I discovered his temper and the rest of his common humanity.
Well, women can be very hard, Mrs. Clarendon.
That's true.
Be silent.
Let me make one last appeal. Mrs. Clarendon, believe me, there are men who have a good deal of feeling, and kind feeling too, which they are not able to express. What you miss in Crampton is that mere veneer of civilization, the art of showing worthless attentions and paying insincere compliments in a kindly, charming way. If you lived in London, where the whole system is one of false good fellowship, and you may know a man for 20 years without finding out that he hates you like poison, you'll soon have your eyes opened. There we do unkind things in a kind way. We say bitter things in a sweet voice. We always give our friends chloroform when we tear them to pieces. But think of the other side of it. Think of the people who do kind things in an unkind way. People whose touch hurts, whose voices jar, whose tempers play them false, who wound and worry the people they love in the very act of trying to conciliate them, and yet who need affection as much as the rest of us. Oh, Crampton has an abominable temper, I admit. He has no manners, no tact, no grace. He'll never be able to gain anyone's affection unless they will take his desire for it on trust. Is he to have none? Not even pity from his own flesh and blood.
Oh, how beautiful, Finch. How nice of you.
Finch, this is eloquence. Positive eloquence.
Oh, Mamma, let us give Chalkstones another chance. Let us have him to dinner.
No, Dolly, I hardly got any lunch. My dear Finch, there is not the least use in talking to me about Fergus. You have never been married to him. I have.
Miss Doria, I have hitherto refrained from appealing to you because if what Mr. Crampton told me be true, you have been more merciless even than your mother.
You appeal from her strength to my weakness.
Not your weakness, Miss Clarendon. I appeal from her intellect to your heart.
I have learnt to mistrust my heart. I would tear my heart out and throw it away if I could. My answer to you is my mother's answer.
Well, I'm very sorry. Very sorry. I've done my best.
But what did you expect, Finch? What do you want us to do?
The first step for both you and Crampton is to obtain counsel's opinion as to whether he is bound by the deed of separation or not. Now, why not obtain this opinion at once and have a friendly meeting, or shall we say a neutral meeting, to settle the difficulty here in this hotel tonight? Now, what do you say?
But where is the counsel's opinion to come from?
It has dropped down on us out of the clouds. On my way back here from Crampton's, I met a most eminent QC, a man whom I briefed in the case that made his name for him. He's come down here from Saturday to Monday for the sea air and to visit a relative of his who lives here. He has been good enough to say that if I can arrange a meeting of the parties, he will come and help us with his opinion. Now, do let us seize this chance of a quiet, friendly family adjustment. Let me bring my friend here and try to persuade Crampton to come too. Come. Consent.
Finch, I don't want counsel's opinion because I intend to be guided by my own opinion. I don't want to meet Fergus again because I don't like him and don't believe the meeting will do any good. However, you have persuaded the children that he is not quite hopeless. Do as you please.
Thank you, Mrs. Clarendon. Will 9 o'clock suit you?
Perfectly. Phil, will you ring, please? But if I am to be accused of conspiring with Mr. Valentine, I think he had better be present.
I quite agree with you. I think it's most important.
Well, there can be no objection to that, I think. I have the greatest hopes of a happy settlement. Goodbye for the present.
Allow me, sir. You rang, Bob?
We expect some visitors at 9, William. Can we have dinner at 7 instead of 7:30?
7, Ma'am. Certainly, Ma'am. It will be a convenience to us this busy evening, Ma'am. There will be the band and the arrangement of the fairy lights and one thing and another,
The
Ma'am.
fairy lights? The band? William, what mean you?
The fancy ball, miss.
Fancy ball?
Oh, yes, sir. Given by the regatta committee for the benefit of the lifeboat, sir. We often have them, ma'am. Chinese lanterns in the garden, ma'am. Very bright and pleasant. Very gay and innocent indeed. Tickets downstairs at the office, sir, 5 shillings. Ladies half price, if accompanied by a gentleman.
To the office, William.
Quick, before they're all sold.
Where's McComas?
Gone out to leave us together. Delicacy on his part, I suppose. Well, Father,
Well, daughter,
shake hands.
what has happened to you, my child?
Oh, never mind. I'm my father's daughter. That's a come down, isn't it?
What you... Well, yes, my dear, I suppose it is. I suppose it is. I'm afraid I'm sometimes a little irritable, but I know what's right and reasonable all the time, even when I don't act on it. Can you believe that?
Believe it? Why, that's myself all over. I know what's right and dignified and strong and noble just as well as she does. But, oh, the things I do. The things I let other people do.
As well as she does. You mean your mother?
Yes, Mother.
Why?
Now, listen. No treason to her. No word, no thought against her. She's our superior, yours and mine. High heavens above us. Is that agreed?
Yes, yes. Just as you please, my dear.
You don't like her?
My child, you haven't been married to her. I have. She did me a great wrong in marrying me without really caring for me. But after that, the wrong was all on my side, I dare say.
Take care. It's my dangerous subject. My feelings, my miserable, cowardly, womanly feelings may be on your side, but my conscience is on hers.
I'm very well content with that division, my dear. Thank you.
Excuse me, but it's impossible to find a servant to announce one. Even the never-failing William seems to be at the ball. I should have gone myself, and I haven't 5 shillings to buy a ticket. How are you getting on, Crampton? Better, eh?
I am myself again, Mr. Valentine. No thanks to you.
Look at this ungrateful parent of yours, Miss Clandon. I saved him from an excruciating pang, and he reviles me.
I am sorry my mother is not here to receive you, Mr. Valentine. It is not quite 9 o'clock, and the gentleman of whom Mr. McComas spoke, the lawyer, is not yet come.
Oh, yes, he is. I met him and talked to him. You'll like him, Miss Clandon. He's the very incarnation of intellect. You can hear his mind working.
Where is he?
Bought a false nose and gone to the fancy ball. I didn't like to borrow 5 shillings from him and go in with him, so I joined the mob and looked through the railings until Miss Clandon disappeared into the hotel through the window.
So it has come to this, that you follow me about in public to stare at me.
Yes. Somebody ought to chain me up.
I'm sorry to have kept you all waiting.
Beg pardon, ma'am. But can you tell me what became of the gentleman with the false nose?
Yes?
Oh. Beg pardon, sir, I'm sure, sir. Was it you, sir?
It was I.
Yes, sir. You with a false nose, Walter. I beg your pardon, ma'am, I'm sure. A little giddiness.
You will excuse him, Mrs. Clandon, when I inform you that he is my father.
Oh, no. No, Walter. A waiter for your father on top of a false nose. What will they think of you?
I am delighted to hear it, Mr. Boone. Your father has been an excellent friend to us since we came here.
Oh, no, ma'am. It's very kind of you, very ladylike and affable indeed, ma'am. But I should feel at a great disadvantage off my own proper footing. Never mind my being the gentleman's father, ma'am. It is only the accident of birth, after all, ma'am. You'll excuse me, I'm sure, having interrupted your business.
One moment. My father was a witness of what passed today, was he not, Mrs. Clandon?
Yes, most of it, I think.
In that case, we shall want him.
Sit down, won't you?
Oh, if you please, ma'am, I really must draw the line at sitting down. I couldn't let myself be seen doing such a thing, ma'am. Thank you, I'm sure, all the same.
William only wants to go on taking care of us. I should like a cup of coffee.
Coffee, miss. Certainly, miss. Thank you, miss. Very timely, miss. Very thoughtful and considerate indeed. Anything for you, ma'am?
Oh, yes. It's so hot, I think we might have a jug of claret cup.
Claret cup, ma'am? Certainly, ma'am.
Oh, well, I'll have claret cup instead of coffee. Put some cucumber in it.
Cucumber, miss. Yes, miss. Anything special for you, sir? You don't like cucumber, sir.
If Mrs. Clarendon will allow me, siphon Scotch.
Right, sir. Irish for you, sir, I think, sir?
Yes.
I like cucumber.
Right, sir. Claret cup, siphon, 1 Scotch, and 1 Irish.
I think that's right.
Right, ma'am. Directly, ma'am. Thank you.
Oh, we can begin now, I suppose.
We had better wait until Mrs. Clarendon's husband arrives.
What do you mean? I'm her husband.
You said just now that your name was Crampton.
So it is.
I don't understand.
One moment. Pray allow me. Sit down, everybody. In this family, it appears, the husband's name is Crampton, the wife's Clarendon. Thus, we have on the very threshold of the case an element of confusion.
But it's perfectly simple.
It is. Mrs. Clarendon has adopted another name. That is the obvious explanation which you feared. I could not find out for myself. You mistrust my intelligence, Mr. Valentine. No, I don't want you to answer that. I want you to think over it when you feel your next impulse to interrupt me.
This is simply breaking a butterfly on a wheel. What does it matter?
I will tell you what it matters, sir. It matters that if that family difference is to be smoothed over, as we all hope it may be, Mrs. Clarendon, as a matter of social convenience and decency, will have to resume her husband's name.
I think, Boone, we'd perhaps better dispose of the important questions first.
McComas, there will be no difficulty about the important questions. There never is. It is the trifles that will wreck you at the harbour mouth. You don't agree with me, eh?
Oh, if I did...
If you did, you would be me instead of being what you are.
Well, of course, Boone, your speciality...
My speciality is being right when other people are wrong. If you agreed with me, I should be no use here. Now, you, Mr. Crampton, what point in this business have you most at heart?
I wish to put all consideration of self aside in this matter.
So do we all, Mr. Crampton. It's understood that self is put aside. Human nature always begins by saying that.
But I mean it, sir.
Quite so. Now for your point.
Every reasonable person will admit that it's an unselfish one. It's about the children.
Well, what do you object to in the present circumstances of the children?
I object to the way they've been brought up.
How do you propose to alter that now?
I think they ought to dress more quietly.
Nonsense. When you are done, Mr. Valentine, when you are quite done...
What's wrong with Miss Clarendon's dress?
My opinion is as good as yours.
Father?
Oh, I didn't mean you, my dear. But the 2 younger ones... You've not seen them, Mr. Boone, and indeed, I think you would agree with me that there is something very noticeable, something almost gay and frivolous in their style of dressing.
Do you suppose I choose their clothes for them? Really, this is childish.
Childish? Ridiculous.
Let us behave reasonably.
Ah. Irish for you, sir. Scotch and siphon for you, sir.
You.
And claret cup.
I'm afraid we interrupted you, Mr. Boone.
You did. Just wait a bit.
Yes, sir. Certainly, sir.
You don't mind our detaining you, I hope Mr. Boone wishes it.
Oh, no, ma'am. Not at all, ma'am. It is a pleasure to me to watch the working of his trained and powerful mind. Very stimulating, very entertaining, and instructive indeed, ma'am.
And now, Mr. Crampton, we are waiting for you. Do you give up your objection to the dressing, or do you stick to it?
Mr. Boone, consider my position for a moment. I haven't got myself alone to consider. There's my sister Sophronia and my brother-in-law and all their circle. They have a great horror of anything that it is at all, well...
Out with it. Fast, loud, gay?
Oh, not in any unprincipled sense, of course, but... Well, those 2 children shock them. They're not fit to mix with their own people. That's what I complain of.
Mr. Valentine, do you think there is anything fast or loud about Phil and Dolly?
Certainly not. It's utter bosh. Nothing could be in better taste.
Oh, yes, of course you say so.
William, you see a great deal of good English society. Are my children overdressed?
Oh, dear, no, ma'am. Oh, no, sir, not at all. A little pretty and tasty, no doubt, but very choice and classy, very genteel and high-toned indeed. Might be the son and daughter of a dean, sir, I assure you, sir. You've only to look at them, sir.
Lift me down, somebody. Oh, Phil, put me down. I'm going to fall.
but...
Oh, thanks. So nice of you. What fun. Oh, dear. Oh, Clarence!
This is the younger lady, is it?
Yes, sir. And please, who are you?
This is Mr. Boone, Dolly, who has very kindly come to help us this evening.
Oh, he comes as a boon and a blessing to me.
Mr. Boone, McComas, I appeal to you. Is this right? Would you blame my sister's family for objecting to it?
Have you begun again?
No. It's perhaps natural at your age.
Never mind my age. Is it pretty?
Yes, dear, yes.
Pretty, you like it?
My child, how can you expect me to like it or to approve of it?
How can you think it pretty and not like it?
Oh, really, I must say
No,
that...
don't interrupt, McComas. The young lady's method is right. Press your questions, Miss Clarendon. Press your questions.
Oh, dear. You are a regular overwhelmer. Do you always go on like this?
Yes? Don't you try to put me out of countenance, young lady. You're too young to do it. Sit down. Now, Mr. Crampton, the facts are before you. Both of them. You think you'd like to have your two youngest children to live with you. Well, you wouldn't. No, you wouldn't. You think you would, but I know better than you. You'd want this young lady here to give up dressing like a stage Columbine in the evening and like a fashionable Columbine in the morning. Well, she won't. Never. She thinks she will.
No, I won't. I'll never give up dressing prettily. Never. As Gloria said to that man in Madeira, never, 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 where grass grows or water runs.
What? What? When did she say that? Who did she say that to?
Mr. Valentine...
Don't you interrupt me, sir. This is something really serious. I insist on knowing who Miss Clarendon said that to.
Oh, perhaps Phil remembers. Which was it, Phil? Number 3 or number 5?
Number 5?
Oh, courage, Valentine. It wasn't number 5. It was only a tame naval lieutenant that was always on hand, the most patient and harmless of mortals.
What are we discussing now, pray?
Excuse me. I'm sorry I interrupted. I shall intrude no further, Mrs. Clarendon.
Please go on, Mr. Boone. You're going to bully us, Mr. Boone.
I'm...
Yes, you are. You think you're not, but you are. I know by your eyebrows.
Mrs. Clarendon, these are clever children. Clear-headed, well-brought-up children. I make that admission deliberately. Can you, in return, point out to me any way of inducing them to hold their tongues?
Dolly, dear...
Our old failing, Dolly. Silence.
Now, Mr. Boone, before they begin...
Be quick, sir. Be quick.
Dear William.
Have you any intention of getting married?
Well, Finch calls me by my Christian name.
I will not have this. Mr. Boone, I use the young lady's Christian name naturally as an old friend of her mother's.
Yes, you call me Dolly as an old friend of my mother's, but what about Dorothea?
Keep your temper, McComas. Don't let us quarrel. Be patient.
I will not be patient. You're showing the most wretched weakness of character, Crampton. I say this is monstrous.
Mr. Boone, please bully Finch for us.
I will. McComas, you're making yourself ridiculous. Sit down.
I will not...
Sit down, sit down. Now, if she doesn't marry you, she will marry somebody else. That is the solution of the difficulty as to her not bearing her father's name. The other lady intends to get married.
Mr. Boone.
It's no use, Miss Clarendon. You can't put me down. I tell you, your name will soon be neither Clarendon nor Crampton. And I could tell you what it will be, if I chose. Mr. Crampton, your notion of going to law is all nonsense. Your children will be of age before you can get the point decided. You can do nothing but make a friendly arrangement. If you want your family more than they want you, you'll get the worst of the arrangement. If they want you more than you want them, you'll get the better of it. The strength of their position lies in their being very agreeable people personally. The strength of your position lies in your income. Give me my false nose. There.
Oh, now you look quite like a human being. Mayn't I have just one dance with you? Can you dance?
Yes. You think I can't, but I can. Come along.
On with the dance. Let joy be unconfined. William. Yes, sir. Can you procure a couple of dominoes and false noses for my father and Mr. McComas?
Most certainly not. I protest...
No. What harm will it do just for once, McComas? Don't let us be spoil sports.
Crampton, you're not the man I took you for. Bullies are always cowards.
Well, never mind. We must indulge them a little. Can you get us something to wear, waiter?
Certainly, sir. This way, sir. Dominoes and noses, sir?
I shall wear my own nose.
Oh, dear, yes, sir. The false one will fit over it quite easily, sir. Plenty of room, sir. Plenty of room.
Come along, my boy. Come along.
Coming, Dad. Coming.
Why did Mr. Valentine go away so suddenly, I wonder?
I don't know. Yes, I do know. Let us go and see the dancing.
Excuse me. I thought the party had quite broken up.
Then why did you come back?
I came back because I'm penniless. I can't get out that way without a 5-shilling ticket.
Has anything annoyed you, Mr. Valentine?
Never mind him, Mother. This is a fresh insult to me, that is all.
Gloria!
Mrs. Clapton, have I said anything insulting? Have I done anything insulting?
You have implied that my past has been like yours. That is the worst of insults.
I imply nothing of the sort. I declare that my past has been blameless in comparison with yours.
Mr. Valentine!
Do you go, Mother? I wish to speak to Mr. Valentine alone.
My dear, you... I beg your pardon, Gloria. Certainly, if you wish.
Oh, if your mother were only a widow, she's worth 6 of you.
That is the first thing I have heard you say that does you honor.
Stuff. Say what you want to say and let me go.
I have only this to say. You dragged me down to your level for a moment this afternoon. Do you think, if that had ever happened before, that I should not have been on my guard? That I should not have known what was coming and known my own miserable weakness?
Don't talk of it in that way. What do I care for anything in you but your weakness, as you call it? You thought yourself very safe, didn't you, behind your advanced ideas? I amused myself by upsetting them pretty easily.
Indeed.
But why did I do it? Because I was being tempted to awaken your heart, to stir the depths in you. Why was I tempted? Because nature was in deadly earnest with me when I was in jest with her. When the great moment came, who was awakened? Who was stirred? In whom did the depths break up? In myself. Myself. I was transported. You were only offended, shocked. You are just an ordinary young lady, too ordinary to allow tame lieutenants to go as far as I went, that's all. I shall not trouble you with conventional apologies. Goodbye.
Stop. Oh, will you understand if I tell you the truth, that I am not making an advance to you?
Oh, I know what you're going to say. You think you're not ordinary, that I was right, that you really have those depths in your nature. It flatters you to believe it. Well, I grant that you are not ordinary in some ways. You are a clever girl. But you have not been awakened yet. You didn't care, you don't care. It was my tragedy, not yours. Goodbye. Let us part kindly.
Goodbye. I trust you will soon recover from the wound.
I shall recover. Such wounds heal more than they harm. After all, I still have my own Gloria.
What do you mean?
The Gloria of my imagination.
Keep your own Gloria, the Gloria of your imagination. The real Gloria. The Gloria who was shocked, offended, horrified. Oh, yes, quite truly. Who was driven almost mad with shame by the feeling that all her power over herself had broken down at her first real encounter with...
Oh, take care. I'm losing my senses again. Oh, Gloria, be sensible. It's no use. I haven't a penny in the world.
Can't you earn one? Other people do.
I never could. You'd be unhappy, my dearest love. I should be the merest fortune-hunting adventurer if... Oh, Lord. Oh, I don't know anything about women. 12 years' experience is not enough.
I'm out of breath. How beautifully you waltz, William.
You make me do such a silly thing, Finch. I haven't danced since the soiree at South Place 20 years ago.
Mr. Valentine, now let us have no false delicacy. Tell my mother that we have agreed to marry one another.
Number 6. Oh, my feelings. I want to kiss somebody, and we vow it in the family. Miss Finch.
No. Positively no.
Oh, Daddy, you're just in time. Now, bless them.
No, I will have no such thing, even in jest. When I need a blessing, I shall ask my mother's.
Am I to understand that you've engaged yourself to this young gentleman?
Yes. Do you intend to be our friend or our father?
I should like to be both, my child, but surely... Mr. Valentine, I appeal to your sense of honor.
You're quite right. It's perfect madness. If we go out to dance together, I shall have to borrow 5 shillings from her for a ticket. Gloria, don't be rash. You're throwing yourself away. I'd much better clear straight out of this and never see any of you again. I shan't commit suicide. I shan't even be unhappy. It'll be a relief to me. I'm frightened. I'm positively frightened, and that's the plain truth.
You shall not go.
No, dearest. Of course not. But will somebody only talk sense for a moment and bring us all to reason? I can't. Where's Boone? Boone's the map. Phil, go and summon Boone.
From the vasty deep. I go.
If you will excuse my putting in a word, sir.
Do not let a matter of 5 shillings stand between you and your happiness, sir. We shall be only too pleased to put the ticket down to you, and you can settle at your convenience. Very glad to meet you in any way. Very happy and pleased indeed, sir.
He comes. The point is, Mr. Boone...
Excuse me, sir. The point must be put to him by a solicitor. The question is one of an engagement between these 2 young people. The lady has some property and will probably have a good deal more.
Possibly. I hope so.
And the gentleman hasn't a rap.
Then insist on a settlement. That shocks your delicacy. Most sensible precautions do. But you ask my advice, and I give it you. Have a settlement.
He shall have a settlement.
My good sir, I don't want advice for myself. Give her some advice.
Oh, she won't take it. When you're married, she won't take yours either. Oh, no, you won't. You think you will, but you won't. He'll set to work and earn his living. Oh, yes, you will. You think you won't, but you will. She'll make you.
Then, Mr. Boone, you don't think this match an unwise one?
Yes, I do. All matches are unwise. It's unwise to be born. It's unwise to be married. It's unwise to live. And it's wise to die.
Then, if I may respectfully put a word in, sir, so much the worse for wisdom.
Allow me to remark that if Gloria has made up her mind...
The matter's settled, and Valentine's done for. And we're missing all the dances.
Gloria, may I have a dance?
Excuse me, I claim that privilege as counsel's fee. May I have the honor? Thank you.
Well, Dolly, may I have a dance?
Nonsense! Finch! My Finch!
No, pain restraint, really. No.
Mrs. Clarendon, may I have a dance? I might as well be a married man already.
Cheer up, sir. Cheer up. Every man is frightened of marriage when it comes to the point. But it often turns out to be very comfortable, very enjoyable, and happy indeed, sir, from time to time. I never was master in my own house, sir. My wife was like your young lady. She was a commanding and masterful disposition, which my son has inherited. But if I had to live my life twice over, I'd do it again. I'd do it again, I assure you. You never can tell, sir. You never can tell.
In Bernard Shaw's comedy, You Never Can Tell, Valentine was played by Dennis Hawthorne, Gloria Clarendon by Prunella Scales, and the waiter by Freddie Jones. Dolly Clarendon, Joe Manning Wilson, Philip Clarendon, Nigel Anthony, Mrs. Clarendon, Betty Bascom, Fergus Crampton, Godfrey Kenton, Finch McComas, Lockwood West, Walter Boone, Michael Kilgarrett, and the parlour maid, Jane Knowles. The play was produced by Betty Davis.
Greetings from Hollywood, ladies and gentlemen. You know, scientists are continually working to bring us greater efficiency and more speed in aircraft. And so in tonight's play, No Highway in the Sky, we tell you the story of a rather absent-minded scientist who, because of one transoceanic flight, found himself the most talked-about man on 2 continents. As the stars of this intensely absorbing drama from 20th Century Fox Studios and recreating their original roles, we have one of the most capable actors on the screen, James Stewart, and one of the most glamorous women in the world, Marlene Dietrich. Yes, glamour is an international word, just as Lux Toilet Soap is an international complexion care, because lovely women everywhere who want fresh, lasting, new beauty depend on daily Lux facials. Now, No Highway in the Sky, starring James Stewart as Theodore Honey and Marlene Dietrich as Monica Teasdale, with Evelyn Eaton as Marjorie Corder. One of England's proudest possessions is the aircraft establishment at Farnsborough, where some of the world's finest commercial planes have been developed. It's closing time, and one of the officials has just left the plant. With him is a scientist, Mr. Theodore Honey.
It's very kind of you to drive me home like this, but I assure you that
Yes, you've told me several times, Mr. Honey. You could just as easily have taken the bus.
I always go home on the bus.
Mr. Honey, I'm rather curious about that experiment of yours in the vibration shed. Perhaps Sir John told you I've been away for several months, and now that I'm back, may I ask just what you're up to in there?
Well, yes, I'm vibrating.
So I understand. The entire tail assembly of the new Rutland reindeer is suspended in midair, and you're vibrating it. Why, Mr. Honey?
Well, I'm waiting for the tail to fall off.
Oh, I see. But these planes are already in service.
Yes, they are, yes.
Sir John tells me you're an American, Mr. Honey. Rhodes Scholar, eh?
Yes, I've been here for several years. I can't remember exactly how long I've been here.
He's quite proud of you, Mr. Honey. Tells me you're invaluable. But what are you trying to do to our reindeer aircraft?
Well, that's rather difficult to explain in words of one syllable.
Well, I have managed as many as 2 syllables on occasion, Mr. Honey.
Oh? Well, very simply, the purpose of my work has been to arrive at an end result for the original theoretical hypothesis of Kerslinger of Bâle and Schildgard of Uppsala, in which they postulate vibration as a source of energy. Now, I reason that since this energy does not appear in any of the ordinary forms, such as heat or electrical potential, it must be absorbed by the metal itself, and that sufficient absorption would result in nuclear fission of the aluminum atom in an isotopic form with crystalline affinities.
And what all that means is that the tail will fall off the airplane?
Exactly, yeah. Oh, here's where I live. Oh, you wouldn't care to come in?
Well, thank you, I'd like to.
You would? Oh, well, I'm afraid all I can offer you is some sherry.
Well, that'd be very nice.
It's probably not very good. I've had it quite a while.
Well, perhaps it's time to see if it's suffering from fatigue.
Oh, that couldn't happen to sherry. Oh, no, you see, sherry is what is that's strange. I'm sure this is the right key.
Well?
Oh, I'm so sorry.
This is the second time this week, Mr. Honey.
Oh, yes, this row of houses, they all look alike.
Yes, they do, don't they?
Yes, it's the one next door. You know, it's very easy to make such an error, you know.
Especially if you've just moved into the neighborhood.
Oh, we've lived here 11 years. Oh, this is my house right here. I'm sure this is my...
Good evening, Father. I'm glad you're not late. I have everything planned for... Oh.
Hello.
Hello.
You don't recall where we put the sherry, do you, dear?
The top cupboard, behind the dishes. You said it would be out of Mrs. Higgins' way.
Oh, the top cupboard. Oh, yes, of course. Yeah, I remember perfectly. I have to put it up here behind the... Oh.
Yes, Father?
It appears to be empty. I guess Mrs. Higgins found it after all. Well, I'll get some more.
Please, I wish you wouldn't.
Oh, no, it's no trouble at all. The shop's just around the corner. Elspeth, will you entertain Mr... I don't believe you told me your name. Scott. This is my daughter. I'll be right back.
Well, Elspeth, now all these books are your father's, I suppose.
Oh, yes. They're all over the house. It's very difficult being a scientist. One has to think so much.
Oh, I know.
When my father's working, I keep very quiet.
And what about your mother? Does she help you keep quiet?
My mother's dead, Mr. Scott. An air raid during the war.
I'm very sorry, Elspeth. You must miss her very much.
Yes, I do. My father does more, I think.
And what do you do when your father's not busy?
Well, quite often we play games. He makes them up. For example, we play pyramidology.
Pyramidology?
It's based on the science of the Great Pyramid, and it's very scientific. The Great Pyramid is the only known architectural example of squaring the circle. That is, the area of the base is directly equal to that of a circle, with the height of the structure.
While you were gone, Mr. Honey, Elspeth was telling me about the games you two play. Very interesting.
Of course, I don't have much time to spend with Elspeth, but she's quite good at being by herself. Her mind is really developing quite remarkably.
Mr. Honey, I'd like to hear more about that tail falling off. When do you expect you'll know when the failure might occur?
Oh, well, I've known that for some time.
You know?
Oh, yes. The answer is 1,440 hours of flight.
But thousands of aircraft have flown millions of miles without the tail assemblies falling off, any of them because of vibration.
Yes, that's quite true.
How long has your test been running, that tail assembly in the vibration shed?
832 hours, 14 minutes, and 7 seconds as of shutdown tonight. They don't allow me to run it more than 8 hours a day. The people in the neighborhood complain about the noise.
But didn't you give them your figure, 1,440 hours?
Oh, no. I never include detail in my preliminary report, Mr. Scott. Science is in no hurry. Whether I reach it a day or so later or earlier, it's of no importance.
It could be vitally important to the 50-odd people who take off in these reindeers every day.
No, now, Mr. Scott, you don't understand. I'm a scientist, and science is very exacting. It requires the utmost concentration. I can't be concerned with people. If a doctor is trying to find a cure for some disease, what would happen if he let himself be upset every time somebody got sick and died? He'd never get any work done at all. Now, people must be somebody else's concern, Mr. Scott. I can't let them be mine.
Yet these very people are the ones
No. I have nothing more to say at the present time. And now, if you'll excuse me, I think I'd better be getting home now. My hat, I thought I left my hat.
But, Mr. Honey, you live here.
I'm afraid I became upset, Mr. Scott. And when I'm upset, it's very easy to forget where I am. Goodbye, Mr. Scott.
Goodbye, Mr. Honey, and thank you for your time. And after I left Honey's home last night, Sir John, I came back here to the plant. I read the report on that reindeer that crashed in Labrador 2 months ago.
Oh, yes. Pilot error, I believe. Went straight into a hill, didn't he?
I looked up how many hours of flight that particular reindeer had prior to the crash. The estimate given is 1,407.
You trying to prove Honey's theory for him?
No, not quite. We seem to have several photographs of the wreckage, but oddly enough, there's no photograph of the tail assembly.
They never found the tail assembly. Nothing unusual in that, I assure you.
I still think another inquiry should be made.
Very well, Mr. Scott. We'll take the taxpayers' money and send someone to Labrador to comb through that godforsaken country for a section of the tail spar. Is that what you want?
Yes, sir.
You don't know much about boffins, do you, Scott?
Boffins, sir?
Yes, scientists, researchers, the lab men. In the first place, a boffin has to be a bit balmy to be a boffin.
Yes, sir.
Well, now, Mr. Honey is typical. He tells us the reindeers will fall apart after 1,400 hours. If I made statements like that, they'd lock me up. Well, how long before that infernal vibration of his is due to prove something?
Well, it'll be weeks yet, sir.
And get it on a 24-hour basis today. And assign someone to handle the complaints when they start coming in.
Very good, sir.
How many hours have been flown by the other reindeers we've delivered?
Oh, I doubt if any of the others has done more than 500, sir.
Well, praise heaven for that. I shouldn't want the job of asking the airlines to ground their nice new ships with no more to go on than what Mr. Honey says.
About the man who will go to Labrador.
Mr. Honey, of course. He started all this. Maybe a stiff climb up a hill will do him good. Still, he knows best what to look for, I suppose.
Yes, sir.
That's all, Mr. Scott. Tell Mr. Honey he's flying to Labrador immediately.
That safety belt now, Mr. Honey. Here, let me help you.
Oh, thank you, stewardess.
We'll serve dinner in about half an hour, but if you care for coffee or a sandwich...
Well, I brought some sandwiches. My daughter made them. Her name's Elspeth.
Well, they're probably much better than ours. You're sure you didn't bring your own coffee?
No, just sandwiches. Miss, that woman over there, isn't that the film actress? Isn't that Monica Teasdale over there?
Why, yes, she's crossed with us often. Would you like me to take over your autograph book?
Oh, no. Oh, I don't even have one. No, I wouldn't want to trouble her.
I'll be back with your coffee in just a moment.
The coffee was very good, miss. Thank you.
I've just been talking with the pilot, Captain Samuelson. I want to apologize, Mr. Honey.
Apologize?
I had no idea you were an expert on aviation, and here I've been talking to you as if you'd never flown before.
Oh, well, I haven't. What I know about airplanes is more when they're in pieces.
Well, Captain Samuelson said he'd like to show you the plane. They don't do that for everyone. These new reindeers are beautifully equipped.
Reindeer? Is this a reindeer we're in?
That's right. A nice new shiny one.
Yes, I think I'd like to see it very much. Well, now that you've met the crew
go, Mr. Honey, let me tell you about our engines.
Well, I don't suppose many things go wrong with them these days, do they, Captain?
Almost never. We don't even use reconditions anymore. We get brand new ones every 600 hours. Well, these happen to be our third set. Now, about the
Did you say the third set of engines?
Yes, that's right, sir.
I thought the Reindeers were new on this Canadian run.
Oh, they are, but this particular aircraft was one of the first off the line. We were loaned out for a while on the South American run.
Well, for how long?
Oh, Dobson, how many hours has this plane flown?
According to the logs, 1,422 up to takeoff today.
1,422?
Yes, sir.
Captain, I must speak to you alone. Now. At once.
You seem disturbed, Mr.
I am disturbed considerably. Now, where can we go?
Well, there's the baggage locker off, but why can't we...
Captain, please. Please hurry.
I don't understand this at all, Mr. Honey. It's not that I doubt your calculations, but...
I tell you that if this airplane has flown more than 1,400 hours, the tail assembly may fail at any moment. That's the reason I was on my way to Labrador right now to investigate.
Investigate?
That crash 2 months ago, that Reindeer crashed at 1,407 hours, within a few hours of my calculations. Less time than this plane has flown.
And you know for certain that the tail assembly failed?
The tail assembly wasn't found with the wreckage.
Oh, I see.
Every minute we spend talking about it...
The matter is that all of this is just your opinion. Well, if you have any suggestions,
Yes. You can cut the inboard engines to break up the vibration frequency and then turn back. Turn back. And if you don't turn back, this airplane's going to crash into the sea. And we're all going to be killed.
I see. Well, I'll radio a full report of all you've told me. If London tells me to turn back, I will. Meanwhile, I'll cut the inboard motors as you suggest. It'll make us late at Gander, but I'll take that responsibility.
Gander, that's in Newfoundland.
Yes, sir, I'm quite aware of that.
But you told me you would radio London.
I will. But there won't be anyone at the airport at this time of night to make a decision like that. My instructions will be to maintain the course.
Very well, Captain. Let's wish ourselves luck. I didn't mean to disturb you, Miss Teasdale. My name's Honey, Theodore Honey, and I'd like to talk to you.
Of course. I'd be very pleased.
I've always Mrs. Honey and I've always felt I owed you a great deal.
Oh?
Your pictures, they meant a lot to my wife, and that's why I want to talk to you.
You're very kind, Mr. Honey.
I'm afraid we're in very serious danger. The tail of this airplane may drop off at any moment.
Is that so?
Yes. Now, I've been looking around the plane, and when it happens, go to the men's room and sit on the floor. Now, the partition there is very rigid because the stove and the galley is bolted to the floor on the other side, you see?
Bolted to the floor? I see.
Yes. Now, if you survive the initial impact, try to get on a life raft, and they may pick you up when they search for us in the morning.
That's certainly very interesting. I'm to go to the men's room.
Yes, that's right.
And sit on the floor.
Yes.
And if I survive...
Yes.
Excuse me, Mr. Honey.
Yes.
I'm afraid Miss Teasdale's very tired. We really should let her rest, don't you think so?
No, but I
Yes, I am rather tired, but thank you very much, Mr. Honey.
Oh, you rang for the stewardess, did you?
Well, yes, I did.
I'm very sorry. I was only trying to help.
I'm sure you were. Some other time, perhaps.
You shouldn't have done that, Mr. Honey.
Yes, it's quite sure. Clear I shouldn't have.
I'm sure you don't want to alarm people. You won't do it again, will you?
No, I won't do it again. You know about this, don't you?
Yes, Captain Samuelson just told me. He'd rather that you didn't speak to any of the other passengers.
May I speak to you?
Of course.
I'd like to tell you what I was trying to tell Miss Teasdale.
Well, do if it will make you feel any better.
Well, now, if it happens at this altitude, there'll be a little less than 3 minutes before we hit the water.
Yes.
Now, there's one place where a person could have a chance to survive the impact. It's in the men's room. Now, at the first sign of trouble, you go in there and sit on the floor with your back against the partition. Now, the partition's very rigid because the stove and the galley is bolted to the floor. Do you see?
You're very observant, Mr. Honey.
Yes, I am. Yes, I'm very observant. I tried to tell Miss Teasdale because I felt I owed her something, and now I want you to know. And I won't talk to anyone else.
No one's worried about me like that for quite a while, Mr. Honey. But I think we're going to be all right.
Won't it just be calm? And please remember what I told you.
Meanwhile, try to get some rest. That's it, Mr. Honey. Here, now, let me fix your pillow.
Before we return with Act Two of No Highway in the Sky, here's our Lux Hollywood reporter, Libby Cullen.
Reporting on Metro-Goldwyn-Mayer's glorious new Technicolor production, Singin' in the Rain, starring Gene Kelly, Donald O'Connor, and Debbie Reynolds.
The dance numbers are superb, particularly the Singin' in the Rain number, where Gene Kelly dances and splashes his way along a rainy street.
Because he's fallen in love with adorable Debbie Reynolds, an irrepressible flapper who becomes one of the first talking picture stars.
As a rhythm team, Gene Kelly and Donald O'Connor are tremendous. They hoof through 2 comedy routines.
And in contrast, the ballet episode is a vision of loveliness.
Producer Arthur Freed has chosen 10 songs, including Broadway Melody, You Are My Lucky Star, and Would You. They're all in Singin' in the Rain.
John, didn't Debbie Reynolds look exquisite in her close-up?
Yes.
Her breathtaking complexion certainly shows the new beauty that results from skin tonic action in Lux Soap Care.
Girls, skin tonic action will work for you, too. You see, skin tonic action means Lux Care actually stimulates vital moisture within your skin. Vital moisture that makes your complexion smoother, fresher, with a dewier look, a younger look.
Skin tonic action works real magic on dry skin.
Yes, dry, flaky skin especially needs moisture from within. And that's just what skin tonic action of Lux Soap Care gives you. It works from within to make your complexion definitely smoother, definitely fresher.
That's not just a promise. It's a scientific fact.
Right, Libby. New tests prove dramatically that skin tonic action gives softer, younger beauty to any normal skin. So be guided by scientific evidence. Be guided by the Lux Lovely complexions of glamorous screen stars. Try Lux Care now. Just 1 cake of Lux can make a thrilling improvement in your skin. Lux Toilet Soap and the beautifying benefits of skin tonic action are guaranteed by Lever Brothers Company. Now our producer, Mr. William Keeler. Act 2 of No Highway in the Sky, starring James Stewart as Theodore Honey and Marlena Dietrich as Monica Teasdale, with Evelyn Eaton as Marjorie. It's a few moments later. Mr. Honey is resting. Across the aisle of the dimly lighted plane, Marjorie Corder, the stewardess, is talking to Monica Teasdale.
Well, I don't think it'll happen again, Miss Teasdale. He seems to be dozing now.
What's the matter with that little man?
I'm afraid he's got some rather odd ideas.
He certainly has. He told me to sit on the floor in the men's room. If that isn't an odd idea, I'd like to meet one.
I think he was trying to tell you the best place to be if there were an accident.
Is that what I really ought to do?
I think he's right about it being the safest place.
But if he's right about that, he may also be right about the tail falling off. Who is he?
Some kind of a scientist, I think. Oh, but I assure you there's nothing to be alarmed about. Captain
Now
Sanders...
listen, dear. The scientist says the plane is going to crash. The captain says it isn't. Your vote doesn't count because you have to string along with the captain, so that leaves it a tie. And as far as I'm concerned... What's that? The motors, they don't sound the same.
We've merely cut our inboard engines to save fuel.
Why should it be necessary to save fuel?
Well, all I meant was...
Just a minute. If I'm going to meet my maker, I'd like to know about it. If you'll excuse me, I'm going to have a little talk with Mr. Honey.
Miss Teasdale, please, I've just got him quiet.
Right now, I don't want him quiet. May I sit down, Mr. Honey?
Oh, yes, of course, Miss Teasdale.
When you came over before, I was only half awake and I only half heard. Would you like a cigarette?
No, thank you.
Now, about our crashing into the sea.
Well, it's hard to say for sure, but I don't believe we've turned back. They must have told the pilot to maintain a course to Newfoundland.
Then we are going to crash?
I would say there's an excellent chance.
I see. I don't see at all, of course. But the pilot should understand you. Why doesn't he turn back? Would it help if I talked to him?
No, I don't think so. Besides, I think we're quite near the point of no return anyway.
Point of no return?
Yes, that's where it's as short to go on as it is to turn back.
Oh. I thought you meant something else. Funny. I would have thought I'd feel quite differently being right up against it like this. All these other passengers.
Well, fortunately, I believe most of them are asleep, so...
Makes you wonder which one you'd pick out to save if you were God, and which one wouldn't matter much, doesn't it?
Oh, I don't know. I never thought much about things like that.
No, you never had time, did you? You were so busy with your multiplication table. But you had a chance to play God for a little while. Why did you pick me out when you decided to save someone?
But you ought to live. I mean, the work you do, you ought to keep on doing.
Oh, the work. No, I don't think I buy that. A few cans of celluloid and a junk heap someday. But you, a scientist, you are worth something to the world. I think I've picked you to be saved.
Well, that's very nice of you, Miss Teasdale. But I think it'll be all right about me.
Haven't you any family?
Oh, my little girl, she's staying with neighbors until I get back.
The little girl is worth a lot to come back to.
Oh, yes. Yes. We're really very fond of one another. She's 12 now. She's much more soundly developed than most children her age. She really has a remarkable grasp of crystallography.
Oh, that's very good, of course.
Yes.
What is it?
Oh, it's quite fundamental. You see, crystallography...
Has she got a compact?
What?
One of these things, a compact.
Oh, I don't know. Why?
Never mind. That isn't it?
No, that's not it.
Some more minutes and each one is kind of like a present, isn't it? You know what I was thinking about just then? All the people who will come to my funeral. That'll be quite an occasion.
Do you have a family, Miss Teasdale?
No, not even a husband at the moment. But there's my agent. Oh, my agent, he'll be very sad. He had 5 more years to go at 10%. And then there's Lauren Colvin. She'll cry the most. She'll give a beautiful performance, and then she'll try to get the part in the picture I was going to make. I suppose that's why I don't feel the way I should. I would have stopped working quite a while ago if I could have figured out what to do with myself. I was married 3 times, but it never came to anything. I wouldn't be a bit surprised if it was all my fault. Maybe Providence is trying to tell me something. Maybe it took a first-class high dive into the middle of the Atlantic to make me quit. And maybe I'd rather it ended with a big splash.
Oh, no. Miss Teasdale, you've made people happy you don't even know about. Why, like my wife, Mary. Do you know that she took me to see one of your pictures that last night before the bomb came? She talked a lot about it after we got home.
Oh?
You made that last night very happy for her. Now, that's worth doing, Miss Teasdale. You know, when we used to go to pictures, we used to walk right out of them whenever Mary didn't like them, but we never walked out on one of your pictures.
Mr. Honey, this is not exactly the best compliment I've ever had, but maybe it's the nicest.
Well, that's why I had to tell you what I did. I have to do everything I can for you, don't you see?
You mean it, too, don't you? Scientists are always so busy figuring out new things. Why don't you figure out a mascara that won't run?
Oh, well, I'm afraid that's a little out of my field.
It's all right. I'll be as good as new in a minute. Thank you for holding my hand.
Come in, Miss Corder. The passengers, everything all right back there?
Everything quiet, Captain. They're asleep, most of them. We're behind schedule, aren't we?
Yes, hour and 20 minutes. Well, let them sleep. Coast is all closed in. Fog. We may have to sit up here till it breaks.
Want some coffee?
The only thing I want is to get this ship...
Take a look to starboard, sir.
Starboard? Well. Do I see lights down there, Mr. Dobson?
Yes, sir. It's rather pity, don't you think?
Radio Gander, tell them we've just sighted the coast. Unfeathered 2 and 3 engines.
Yes, sir.
Now, how long?
About half an hour. I'll take that coffee now, thanks.
Right. Miss Teasdale.
Oh, yes?
Sorry to awaken you. We're landing in about 20 minutes.
We're that close? We're still in one piece?
Yes, it's a lovely clear night.
Oh, it is. The stars are out. Oh, by must have fallen asleep on your shoulder, Mr. Honey.
Oh, well, that's all right. That's quite all right.
I'm sorry you had to be so worried, Mr. Honey.
How long will we be in Gander?
About an hour, I imagine. Excuse me, please.
Quite a night, Mr. Honey. I guess you must have multiplied somewhere where you should have divided.
Well, Mr. Honey, this is Gander.
Well, the stewardess asked me to stay here on the plane. She said...
Mr. Honey, this is Mr. Lund. He's in charge of all flights in and out of Gander.
Yes, how do you do?
Mr. Lund, I want this aircraft inspected as no other's ever been inspected, every ruddy inch of it.
Yes, sir, we'll get on it immediately.
If, as I expect, this inspection is satisfactory, I'm refusing to carry Mr. Honey any further.
Well, now, just a minute here, sir.
I consider his presence aboard an unnecessary hazard. I'll arrange that all other flights leaving this airfield are adequately informed about him before they carry him.
Yes, sir.
And meanwhile, if there's an office or something in your building that's not being used, I'm going to radio London, Mr. Honey. Pending their answer, you're staying here at Gander Airfield.
Well, you all right, Mr. Honey? It's a nice warm office, isn't it? Here, I hope you like bacon and eggs.
Well, thank you. It's very nice of you, Miss Corder. What about the plane?
They've just about finished the inspection.
Well, they won't find anything wrong. I told him that. I wish people didn't think they knew everything.
You mean you still believe it's going to crash?
Yes, I believe that. I suppose if they take off, Miss Teasdale will go too.
I expect she will.
I think she believed me for a little while last night, and then I don't think she did.
Your eggs are getting cold, Mr. Honey.
That plane in Labrador, I suppose there was a stewardess on that one, too.
Yes, I knew her very well.
Couldn't you believe me, Miss Corder? You've been so very kind to me, and you ought to live and get married and bring up a family. You'd be very good at that.
Well, thank you very much for that, Mr. Honey. You said that just about as nicely as anyone could. But I think everything will be all right. Captain Samuelson knows a great deal about aircraft. Well, I'd better be going. And you will eat, won't you? I won't lock the door if you promise not to speak to any of the other passengers.
I won't.
Well, goodbye, Mr. Honey. And please stop worrying.
Well, that's about it, Captain. The safety locks are out and the landing gear, but apart from that, your aircraft is clear. You can pick up new locks in Montreal.
There's no risk involved.
No, of course not. Keep a man standing by the lever on taking off and landing, just so nobody catches a coat on it or something. Be rather awkward, you know, if the wheels retracted while you were still on the ground.
Well, just sign us out and we'll be... What are you doing here, Mr. Honey?
Captain, I just happened
Mr. Honey, I'm flying this aircraft to Montreal. I want you to get off and stay off.
Captain, you mustn't take this airplane off the ground. You can't do it. Believe me, mathematics is a very exact science. It'll be just like that crash in Labrador and the stewardess and all these people.
Stop and get him off the plane.
No, you can't do this. I won't allow it.
Get away from that
lever. This plane has got to be... Oh, it just folded up. I pulled the lever and it just folded right up and sat down.
Well, Mr. Honey, back in the office, I see. Only now there's an armed guard outside, isn't there? Mr. Honey, why did you do it?
I just had to do it, that's all. I had to do it. They wouldn't listen to me. Well, there'll be quite a delay for everybody now, won't there?
Yes, Mr. Honey, quite a delay.
Mr. Honey, if you believe in something, you believe in doing something about it.
Oh,
don't you?
yes. Hello, Miss Teasdale.
Don't these things cost an awful lot of money?
Oh, a tremendous amount of money. I don't know what they're going to do about it. I've never had any experience with anything like this before.
I should think nobody has. I think this is a kind of a world record. You didn't do it for yourself either, did you? No. We were leaving you behind, weren't we? Look, you better stay here, Mr. Honey. Some of the passengers are a little annoyed with you.
Oh, yes. Well, I'll stay here. I'm under some sort of an arrest, I think.
Well, I try to find out what happens next.
Well, it's very nice of you not to be angry about the delay.
Oh, it's worth it. You don't meet a world record every day.
You know, there'll be quite a lot in the newspapers about this.
Oh, dear, yes. Oh, that means my little girl will find out about it, too. I can't imagine what she'll think about me.
Look, I'll probably be sent back to London now for reassignment. Would it help if I went to see your daughter?
Oh, would you do that for me? Well, there's no telling what she'll hear, is there?
Well, whatever she hears, I imagine she'll understand.
Oh, she will? Well, frankly, Miss Corder, I wish I did.
Come in, Mr. Scott, come in. Well, I understand you finally got through to Gander.
Yes, Sir John, and it's true, right down to the last blasted detail. Mr. Honey wrecked the plane. Mr. Honey dropped that reindeer right on its belly.
It should interest all you gentlemen that in addition to frantic calls from the press, the ARB, the Treasury, and the Home Office, I also heard from Sir David.
Oh, dear.
It is Sir David's belief that there isn't enough money in the Bank of England to pay for the damage done to British aviation by the implication of the safety of their aircraft. Furthermore, he refuses to fly Mr. Honey back to England.
But Honey must be returned here at once, Sir John, for the inquiry.
Sir David has contacted the RAF. He said they, at least, are equipped to take risks.
Excuse me, sir. There's a Miss Monica Teasdale to see you, Sir John.
Teasdale?
Yes, the film star.
First of all, Miss Teasdale, we're curious as to how you got back here so quickly.
I came back with a crew, gentlemen. Something about having to return to reassignment, so I decided to come along. Now, about Mr. Honey.
Ah, yes. Mr. Honey is expected here tomorrow night. The Army has consented to bring him over in a bomber.
Miss Teasdale, if you can give us any idea of what really happened.
They were going to take off from Montreal, although he told them they shouldn't. And the lever was right there, so he pulled it. You've never seen such a commotion in your life. I guess a thing like that hasn't happened before in the history of the world.
No, fortunately, no. Have you known Mr. Honey long?
No. I met him on the plane. He came to tell me that he's dead, and I believed him.
Did you understand it?
Not a word.
Well, then how could you? I mean, after all...
I don't know a thing about mathematics, Sir John. But I know when a man knows what he's talking about. That funny little man is brave and kind and on the level. But they'll throw him to the wolves now, won't they?
The wolves?
They'll say he's a lunatic and let it go at that. Well, that's why I wanted to meet the people he worked for. I want to find out if you're going to stand by him. Somebody's got to, you know.
We don't know whether Mr. Honey is right or wrong, but I assure you nothing will be spared to get at the truth. We sincerely hope to find it on the side of Mr. Honey.
Well, I don't think there was much need in my coming here, but I'm glad I did.
We're indebted to you, Miss Teasdale.
Isn't there anything I can do for him? His little girl. I thought that if I went to see her, maybe I could stop by just to see if she's all right.
Oh, I think that would be very nice. She's staying with neighbors, I believe. If you don't mind coming with me, I'll look up the address.
Thank you. Sir John, there's going to be trouble for Mr. Honey, isn't there?
Yes, I'm afraid so.
Thank you again, and goodbye.
Well, here he is, Sir John. When he got off the bomber, he went directly
Now,
to...
Sir John, I protest. I protest very strongly. The vibration shed's under guard. They refuse to let me through. Now, why has my work been taken out of my hands?
Please sit down, Mr. Honey.
I'm not in the habit of going around wrecking things. You ought to know that.
If you please. The Board of Inquiry has agreed to defer the hearing concerning your conduct in Gander until your test in the shed has reached the 1,440-hour mark. The figure you yourself suggested.
That figure was suggested and arrived at by the science of mathematics.
Fact remains that if your test proves your contention, the airline and everyone else will be extremely grateful to you. If it does not, or if we fail to get supporting evidence from Labrador...
Well, how can I look for evidence in Labrador when I'm ordered back here?
We sent someone else, Mr. Honey. Penworthy left yesterday.
Penworthy? Oh, very capable man. I approve.
Thank you. Meanwhile, the Board of Inquiry plans to issue a statement. Something to offset all this ruinous publicity. That yours was the act of an irresponsible and unbalanced mind. They want the supporting opinion of qualified psychologists. In other words, they wish to test you as well as that tail assembly.
To see if I'm insane?
Yes, that's right.
Do you think I'm insane?
No, I don't think so. I'd hate to have them look me over at the moment. You can refuse, you know. That's your privilege.
No, I won't refuse. Let them pry and poke if they want to. Tell them I'll be in my office in the morning if they want to see me.
Thank you.
Well, If there's nothing else, I think I'll go home.
We'll return shortly with Act 3 of No Highway in the Sky. Have you ever wondered how a star is born? Well, my guest tonight is just the girl to tell you. She's the 20th Century Fox starlet, Lux Lovely Virginia McGuire.
Being groomed for stardom is work, Mr. Keeley. After winning a photoplay scholarship, I studied at Pasadena Playhouse. Now I'm learning from the stars out at Fox, like Susan Hayward. You know, Susan plays Jane Froman in 20th Century Fox's new Technicolor musical, With a Song in My Heart.
Yes, and the other wonderful stars are Rory Calhoun, David Wayne, and Thelma Ritter.
You'll see the romantic story of Jane Froman's marriage to the pilot who saved her life.
And how the courageous singer got off her hospital bed to entertain so she could pay for more operations.
Jane Froman recorded 30 top tunes for With a Song in My Heart. Her voice is thrilling.
So is Susan Hayward's sparkling complexion. Susan is devoted to Lux Soap Care with its newfound skin tonic action.
Well, here in Hollywood, we think skin tonic action in Lux Care is the beauty news of the year. It makes complexion so much smoother and fresher.
Skin tonic action actually stimulates moisture within your skin. It's this moisture within that gives your complexion dewy freshness. Yes, it's moisture from within that counteracts dryness, that makes skin look smoother, younger.
Its benefits are really wonderful.
Tests prove skin tonic action brings radiant new softness to any normal skin, your own skin. So try Lux Toilet Soap Care now. Just cream in the rich lather, rinse warm, splash cold. You'll see an immediate improvement in your complexion.
Mr. Kennedy, I love Lux for my bath, too.
Naturally. The big bath-size cake of Lux is Hollywood's way to all-over loveliness.
To the smoother shoulders, smoother arms, so important with summer's bare fashions.
Thank you, Miss McGuire. Girls, tomorrow, get Hollywood's own fragrant white Lux toilet soap. Remember, 9 out of 10 screen stars are Lux girls. We pause now for station identification. This is the CBS Radio Network.
And this is WDAM in Danville, Illinois, the commercial news station.
The curtain rises on Act 3 of No Highway in the Sky, starring James Stewart as Theodore Honey and Marlene Dietrich as Monica Teasdale, with Evelyn Eaton as Marjorie. Well, Mr. Honey has wandered wearily back to his house, and here another surprise awaits him. Marjorie, the stewardess.
So I thought I'd stay here with Elspeth because, well, we didn't think you'd be back here till tomorrow. She's asleep now.
Well, that's very kind of you, Miss Corder.
She's such a sober little thing, isn't she?
Was she worried about me?
Yes, so was I. Oh, did you see her presents?
Presents?
Miss Teasdale brought them.
Miss Teasdale, is she here, too?
No, but she brought her the loveliest things. Oh, and you should see the compact.
Well, what did she want to do a thing like that for?
I think you'd be surprised.
Now, everything that's happened, it's my own fault. I have no one to blame but myself.
You did think there'd be a crash, didn't you?
Yes, but what I should have done is to offer my hypothesis to Captain Samuelson in an orderly manner. Let him make his own decision. How is anybody going to take my work seriously if I go around doing things like that? They're saying I'm crazy. I don't blame them.
And if you had to do it again, you just let it go ahead and crash?
That's just the point. I probably would have done the same thing over again. I'm evidently quite a weak character, Miss Corder.
Well, I expect you know what you're doing. Well, I'll phone for a taxi and say goodbye, Mr. Honey.
Goodbye?
Well, I could come back in the morning. Would you mind?
Oh, no. No, I wouldn't mind.
I'd like to. I'd like to be here to see how things turn out.
Yes. Yes, Miss Corder. Thank you very much.
Miss Teasdale. Oh, come in, won't you? Oh, Mr. Honey's going to be so disappointed.
Gone? I suppose he couldn't wait to get to Farnsborough this morning to see his playthings again.
He was going to drop Elspeth off at school and then go on over there.
I'd like to hear about it. Any coffee left from breakfast?
Let's go in the kitchen. Oh, watch for the ironing board. I've been doing some pressing.
Yes, I see. Mr. Honey's pants.
Well, I had nothing else to do, and well, it looks as though he wears one suit and goes to sleep in the other.
That's very domestic. You're full of surprises.
Here's your coffee. I hope you like it strong.
Thanks. Well, what's he going to do?
I just don't know.
Funny that a kid like you would bother to see so much in anybody like him.
It's not so funny, really. You get around being a stewardess.
Well, this will take some thinking, won't it? Only now I don't have time for it. I'm leaving tonight for California. The studio's caught up with me. They want to get going.
But what about all the things you talked about? Helping Mr. Honey to find an answer and everything.
I meant it. Don't think I didn't, and I still do. I'd kind of go for that, Mr. Honey. Maybe it would have been the best chance I'll ever have to be a lot of things I'd like to be. Only I suppose you can't do a thing like this just a little bit. Mixing into other people's lives, I mean. You can start something that maybe you can't finish. What got me was his being so anxious to save me for posterity. Well, I've decided to go back and give posterity another break. It won't hurt to wait a while and see how things work out. Oh, that box I brought, it's a dress for Elspeth. I saw it in the window and it just yells to belong to her. Tell her I'll write, will you?
Can't you wait long enough to see
No,
them?
I don't think so. I might weaken. There's no use making anything of it. That's one thing you learn in my business. How to get off.
I wish you wouldn't go.
You're a nice kid, Marjorie. I have an idea you know what's going on. You might let me know. I'll get a price on a laboratory or two, just in case. Oh, about Elspeth.
Yes?
Keep on telling her how pretty and sweet she is, will you? It'll do her good.
I will, Monica.
Take care of yourself. And thanks for the coffee.
Good evening. I'm late, I know. I should have let you know.
It's all right, Mr. Honey, except I'm afraid that Elspeth's fallen asleep. What happened?
Oh, several things. I saw the psychiatrist this morning. They showed me a lot of ink blots. And these ink blots were supposed to make me think of tigers and elephants. All they made me think of was ink blots. We discussed that for quite some time.
And then?
And then 2 o'clock came.
2 o'clock?
My vibration tests. The 1,440 hours were up at 2 o'clock. Nothing happened. Nothing at all. My figures clearly indicated that the tail assembly should fail at 2 o'clock, and it didn't.
And now what?
Well, the board of inquiry meets in the morning, and I'll stand up and I'll explain my theory, and then I'll sit down and listen to them say that I'm insane. Perhaps I am. I'm not sure, you know. I just think that the truth is only that I've made a mistake somewhere in my work, and I must have time to run it down. But you see, there won't be any time, and I'll just sit there. I'll just sit there, and I won't say a word.
I see. Everything just as it was,
Yes, I'm rather glad it's all over.
But you can't just sit there. If you believe something is right, you have to do it if you want to live with yourself. If you don't, you'll have to pay for it sooner or later, and so will Elspeth.
Elspeth?
Everything is to be just as it was for her, too?
Yes, she was very glad to have it that way. She was very happy.
Oh, it's as simple as that. Well, I'll be running along, Mr. Honey. It's my last day, you know. I start my job again tomorrow night. Funny if they put me back on reindeers.
No, but you mustn't.
Supposing I did, would you let me? Never mind. I'm sorry I mentioned it. Good night, Mr. Honey.
Elspeth, it's 7 o'clock, dear.
Good morning, Father. Yes, I've been awake for some time. Did the tail fall off?
No, dear, it didn't.
You mustn't worry about it. It will someday.
Elspeth, is something the matter?
No. I was just thinking about it's all being over. Teasdale's gone, and Miss Corder goes tonight, and the newspaper people, and everybody wanting to talk to me at school. That sort of thing isn't very permanent, is it? It's like Christmas. Everybody very nice to everybody for a little while, but then it doesn't last, does it?
Oh, I don't know, dear. Aren't they always nice to you at school?
It's just that they don't talk to me very much as a rule because I'm different. Like my intelligence quotient being too high. Father, I was thinking that maybe if I didn't go to school anymore, I'm sure to learn much more with you because there wouldn't be the other things to think about. Things being impermanent.
Oh, Elspeth, dear, now, please, dear, don't cry. What's the matter, dear? What's the matter?
I have just one thing more to say to this Board of Inquiry.
Yes, Sir David.
I submit that the kindest thing we can say about Theodore Honey is that his mind is unstable, filled with obsessions that can carry him to great extremes. I insist an immediate finding to this effect be issued by this board.
Now, wait a minute. Now, here, now, Mr. Now, what's your name? Chairman. Mr. Chairman. I've decided to say something. Now, I didn't invent the mathematics that made me believe what I did. And I still believe that there's some truth in my work, test or no test. And when you believe in something, that's what you've got to do, isn't it? If you want to live with yourself. All right. Now, well, the first thing I'm going to do is to resign right here and now so the Farnsburg establishment won't get mixed up in this thing. And then, every time a reindeer aircraft is going to take off, and it shouldn't, I'm going out there and I'm going to wreck it. Now, you may put me in jail, but the newspapers wrote a whole lot about me when I wrecked that one in Gander, and they'll write more about me here, and people just won't get on those airplanes. And I'm going to tell you something else. The minute something does happen to one of those airplanes, you're going to have to think of something better to say than anything I've heard out here this afternoon. That's all. Any other statements? That's all. Goodbye. And then Sir David, he said I was crazy, and I got up and I made a few remarks, and then I just walked out and I came home.
Then it's all over?
It's all over. That's all. Thank you for stopping by, Miss Carter. It's very nice of you.
There's few more remarks. What did you tell them, Mr. Honey?
Oh, several things. I told them plenty. I resigned, too.
You didn't?
Resigned. Well, I couldn't just sit there, could I?
But what are you and Elspeth going to live on? Have you any money at all?
Money? Why, I don't know exactly how much. There's a bank book in the drawer there, I think.
You don't know how much money you have?
No, I suppose I should, shouldn't I? But I...
Less than £4. Just look at this bank book. You haven't made a deposit for months. Well, just what do you do with your money?
Well, I think there's some in the back shelf there. Here. Yes, here, you see? Now, here, there's a box on the desk here. Sometimes I put the checks in that box. You see there?
Oh, no.
What's wrong?
Your salary checks, we'll just look at them. January, March, and this one from last November. Well, you have lots of money, Mr. Honey. I shouldn't have worried, should I? You don't need anyone.
Oh. Well, one of these days I'm going to take time out and go down to that bank.
Oh, but you do need someone.
Miss Corder, what seems to be... Now, you're not going to start to cry here now, are you?
I can't go away and leave you. It isn't safe. You've got to have somebody looking after you. I'm going to marry you and live here, whether you have a job or not.
You mean you're going to... Miss Corder, would you care to join me in a glass of sherry?
Thank you. Thank you very much.
And so I came back here to say goodbye, Mr. Scott. There's several papers and reports I have should turn over to you.
Very decent of you, Mr. Honey.
Oh, yes, and this is Miss Corder here. She asked me to marry her, and I think I'd better.
He really should, you know.
Well, how do you do? I mean, congratulations.
Now, we can't stay long here. We're picking up my little girl at school, and we're going... my test. You're continuing the vibration test. Why?
I don't really know, Mr. Honey. There's been no order.
Mr. Honey!
Oh, that's all right, Sir John, now. It's all right. I haven't wrecked a thing. It's all right.
We've just heard from Penworthy in Labrador. He found the wreckage of that tail assembly.
Oh, well, good for him.
He said it broke off the plane, no question about it. Exactly as you claim, Mr. Honey.
Is that so? Well, that's very interesting.
But that's only half the news. That plane you wrecked in Gander was repaired. They made the flight to Montreal.
Oh, yes, but I still maintain
A few minutes later, while the plane was being taxied to the hangar, well, I could hardly believe it.
The tail assembly broke in two.
Why, yes. But how did you ever know? Mr. Honey, you have been completely vindicated.
No, I haven't. Not at all. At the end of this shed is a tail assembly that should have collapsed yesterday. I said it would, and I was wrong. As long as that tail assembly remains intact, there's still no positive proof that
Mr. Honey, it happened! There's no positive proof now!
It should have happened yesterday. I've been deplorably inaccurate. Somehow, somewhere, I've made a mistake. Now, wait. Wait, just this shed. It's warm in here, isn't it? Marjorie, aren't you warm?
Yes.
Aren't you warm,
Yes, I
Marjorie?
am.
Yes, no, you aren't. You're hot. Isn't it hot in here?
You're hot.
You're not feverish. Temperature. It's the temperature.
Oh, dear.
Temperature is a variable factor. That plane and Gander had been flying in the tropics. This test was in a heated shed. It would have collapsed on schedule if I'd lowered the temperature 40 degrees. Oh, Sir John, I'm a fool. I'm just a fool, sir.
Are you now? No, Mr. Honey. You're a boffin. Capital B-O-F-F-I-N.
Now, what do you suppose he meant by that?
Mr. Keeley will return with our stars for a curtain call in just a moment. But first, an exciting announcement from the makers of Lux Flakes.
Would you like to know the Hollywood way to beauty and charm? Now you can have the beauty secrets that are used by the stars on and off screen. Beauty secrets that will show you how to make your eyes look larger, brighter, how to make your lips luscious, inviting. Hollywood tricks of makeup, figure allure, complexion care, star bright hair.
All these secrets and more are yours in the new Lux book, Hollywood's Own Secrets of Charm, for just one Lux Flakes box top and 10 cents. Write to Lux Flakes, Box 73, New York 46, New York.
Just think, a 32-page beauty and charm book containing 143 authentic Hollywood secrets never before printed. Secrets that will help you play a starring role in your own life.
Just send one Lux Flakes box top and 10 cents for each book to Lux Flakes, Box 73, New York 46, New York. That's Lux Flakes, Box 73, New York 46, New York. But hurry, the supply is limited. This Lux Flakes offer is good only in the United States, Alaska, and Hawaii.
Send for your Lux book, Hollywood's Own Secrets of Charm, tonight. Learn the Hollywood way to beauty and charm and play a starring role in your own life.
Now here's Mr. Keeley with our stars.
And here they are coming forward to acknowledge your applause. James Stewart and Marlene Dietrich. Well, Marlena, what are you doing these days?
Right now, I'm looking for a baseball game.
Any particular one?
Yes. I've just seen Dan Daly as Dizzy Dean in the 20th Century Fox picture, The Pride of St. Louis. And now I wish to see Mr. Dean pitch.
Well, Dean doesn't pitch anymore, Marlena, but instead, why don't you see Deadline USA starring Humphrey Bogart? And then you can go looking for gangsters.
All right, Jimmy. I shall look for the pictures as soon as I return to New York.
And by the way, don't miss the magnificent new Lever House, which has its formal opening this week.
Oh, isn't that the building I recently saw in a magazine, almost entirely made of glass?
Yes, Jimmy, that's because it has 1,404 windows, but no windowsill. So it looks just a shining block of glass 21 stories high. I have a wonderful view of my New York apartment.
It's way along the ledge, sir. Oh, it must be at least 20 stories. Do you think he intends to jump, sir?
Now, will you please listen to me?
I think he is going to jump.
Just
keep still and listen to me.
I don't think he can hear you, sir.
What you have done is not so very serious.
I think you'll have to climb out to him, sir. The ledge is wide enough.
A few francs stolen from someone's wallet. It happens every day of the week.
I'm sure he's going to jump, sir.
We've got to arrest you, but you'll be fined, that's all.
He can't hear you, sir. You'll have to climb out to him.
Yes.
The ledge is wide enough. You can lean with your back against the roof.
Yes, I must talk to him. I must. I must make him listen to me.
Let me go, sir.
Well, no. It's my duty, Louise.
Let me go, please, sir.
No, Louise, don't, please. Come back. Don't go. Louise, it's dangerous. You might slip.
Easy, sir.
Louise.
Louise!
Obsession by Pierre Boileau and Thomas Nasja. Translated and adapted by Michael Voisey. With Peter Jeffrey as Flavier, Sarah Bedell as Madeleine, and Nigel Stock as Paul Jevine. Obsession.
The people versus Roger Flavier. Roger Flavier, you will stand before the court. Roger Flavier, in the cause of the people against you, you are charged that you did, on August the 19th last, willfully murder René Surange, with whom you were staying at the Hôtel de France, Marseille. You will answer the questions put to you by the examining magistrate.
Yes.
You are a lawyer, aged 53, of 17 Rue Marechal, Paris?
Yes.
Is this your handwriting on this file marked Dossier Jevine?
Yes.
The clerk will read the dossier.
April 15th, 1973. Paul Jevine, with whom I was a student and whom I had not seen for many years, came to see me with a preposterous story that his wife from time to time becomes possessed by one of her ancestors. It is my belief that this is a simple case of a wife much younger than her husband, deceiving him with a man of her own age.
Come in, Paul.
Thank you.
I'm sorry you had to walk up, but the lift's not working.
It's quite a climb when you're not as young as you used to be.
Yes. Well, would you rather talk in here or in my sitting room? It's just through there. You see, my apartment is both my office and my home.
No, we'll talk here in your office. I've come for your professional advice.
Yeah, well, I'll just close the window.
You don't mind being on the fourth floor?
No. Have a drink.
Thanks.
What have we got? Vermouth, cognac, glass of wine.
Wine, please.
Right. There's some cigarettes on the desk.
I'll have a cigar, if you don't mind. I've got my own.
Right. Well, you've put on weight, Paul.
Too much good food, not enough exercise.
Yes, indeed.
I believe you're a little thinner.
Well, santé, Paul, after all these years.
Santé, Roger. Must be nearly 30.
Must, indeed, yes.
It's a good wine, this. Cigar?
No, thanks. No, I've never developed the taste for them. I'll just have a cigarette.
So you went into law after all?
Well, I was in the police first for 3 years, and then I went to law school.
I hear you specialize in inquiry work now.
Yes, I found when I was practicing law that before I took on a case, I often had to find the evidence for the client myself, and I thought, well, other lawyers must have the same problem, so with both my police and legal training...
Excellent. A man should always be something on his own.
Yes. Well, you've done very well. I see your photographs in the paper attending government meetings and things. You're really quite the industrialist, aren't you?
Shipbuilding. We're doing very well. We've got NATO contracts.
Really?
On the secret list.
I see. So you say you've come to me for my professional advice?
Roger, I want you to keep an eye on my wife.
Why? She's going off the rails, is she?
No, not in that way.
What then?
I know this sounds absurd, but the truth is there are times when Madeline lives in another world. She sees things invisible to the rest of us.
Well, how did it all begin?
The first spell was about a year ago. I got back from Le Havre on the Friday night. I have to spend about half the week there. We had dinner. She was perfectly cheerful. A Russian ballet company had been in Paris. We were sitting having coffee after dinner. She was playing some of the music from one of the ballets she had seen. The record ended. I asked her if she wanted it changing, but she didn't hear me. She just sat, staring at nothing.
I see. Well, how often does this happen?
Well, to begin with, it was once or twice a month. Then it began to be more frequent. Now it may be once a week.
How long do these spells last?
They can last up to an hour.
Has your wife ever dabbled in spiritualism or anything to do with the supernatural?
No, never. She's always laughed at people who believe in that kind of thing.
Yes. You've had medical advice, I suppose?
Yes. A specialist in nervous disorders. There's nothing wrong, medically.
Mm. How old is your wife?
29.
Oh. Quite a bit younger than you. How long have you been married?
4 years.
Children?
No.
You married a little late in life. Is she your first wife?
Yes. Oh, you know me, Roger. I was always ambitious.
Yes, yes. Another glass?
Thanks.
Well, I'll be honest with you. You're not the first man to come to me with a similar story. My wife is very distant. She can sit for hours and say nothing. You say your wife sees visions, Paul, but I say your wife has a lover.
No, not Madeline. She's not that kind of woman.
Oh, that's what every man thinks about his wife. Here.
Roger,